And go. Hi!
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Movies with Mark. I am Mark McPherson, movie critic for Moviespoon.com, TwinCitiesGeek.com, and I also have my website, movieswithmark.com. And I'm joined here by my wife, you can see on the side there.
Hi.
And it's kind of a dry week this week. I didn't have a chance to go see the new Maze Runner movie or the new period western Hostels. So for this week, I decided to use it as a catch-up week. To catch up on a few films from last year that I may have missed that are either missed them at the theater or they apparently were just ended up on streaming services that I didn't get around to seeing. So caught up on a few of them, and I think you and I have actually watched a few of these that I'm going to mention here. So I'm not going to quiz.
Watched movies in the past week?
Not in the past week, but like these are ones that kind of from like last fall that I didn't have a chance to talk about.
Oh, okay.
But it's no quiz, no quiz or anything like that.
I
not gonna grill you.
I haven't watched any movies this week.
I'll-
You put Blade Runner numbers on there.
Love it.
And I sort of watched it. I didn't really like it. And then I went to bed before it was finished because it was too long.
Yeah.
And I needed to go to bed because I had work the next day. So.
Same criticism. Too long.
Yeah, I'm sorry, honey. I know you really wanted me to like that one, and I liked the first one, director's cut or whatever that you showed me, but...
82 version.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Not big on the Blade Runner. Alright, well, like the first, like the movies that I caught up with this week are two, like the ones that I have on the posters on the side here. So the first one I really want to check out, which sounded amazing to me, is Brawl and Cellblock 99. Mainly because this is it's a film starring Vince Vaughn, and it's probably the most divergent role you've ever seen for Vince Vaughn ever. Because we're mostly used to him just playing, the kind of like milquetoast, snarky comedic guy that we're always used to seeing in these comedies. And
I saw him play a detective once.
Where do you play a detective?
In the cell.
Oh man, you're right. Yeah, because. Well, yeah, it's weird to think, because like his earlier roles in like The Cell, and then like he tried to play the villain in the Gus Van Sant Psycho.
Sure.
So he tried for a while.
He got really fat too.
He got really fat.
Oh yeah, he was on Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
Yeah. That's most.
So I'm more familiar with him as a detective than I am with him as a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Because he was not comedic in any of those roles.
No.
But maybe he was supposed to, and I was missing something.
But in the last few years, he's kind of just like gotten into like the rut of like the same role. It's just that the snarky comedic guy, in all these different films, and finally we get something like Brawl and Cellblock 99, which is like completely different from what you're used to seeing.
Or am I mixing him up with a different actor?
Might be a different actor. I don't know. There's been usually on those like detective shows, like a lot of actors can get into playing villains of the week or stuff like that.
Oh no! I got him mixed up with another dude. I think.
Are you?
Maybe. No wait.
I know
he was in The Cell, but he's a different guy than who was in Law and Order. It was the other guy from The Cell who was in Law and Order.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I know
he was in The Cell.
I know a lot of different.
And I think they're both named Vince.
Tom Baker was once a villain on Remington Steele.
I got him mixed up with Vincent D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah.
He was in Criminal Intent.
Yep.
And he got fat.
D'Onofrio's been on the block. Man.
D'Onofrio got fat. Yeah, he played a...
How else can he play Kingpin,
Yeah, well, he played Fisk, apparently, in the TV series of Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
Which I assume means Netflix.
Yeah.
He played himself on BoJack Horseman.
Yeah.
He was in Rings.
He was in Rings, yeah. I think he was the sheriff in that. He was the villain in Jurassic World. It's a lot of fun to watch him there.
Yeah, he played Robert Gorin on Law and Order Criminal Intent. I got them mixed up because I saw both of these actors first in the same movie. But you're right. Vince Vaughn has mostly been in comedies. It looks sort of like romantic comedies. But he was in F is for Family. He was executive producer. He wasn't in it.
No, but yeah,
I guess he's doing a lot of executive producing now. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, trying to expand his role.
I'm sure his acting credit. There's a lot of producer credit.
Would have been cool if he. It would have been really cool if he directed this film, just because it is. It's like the last thing you'd expect Vince Vaughn to do.
He's in a 2017 Play Dodgeball with Ben Stiller video short.
Yeah, they did like some short event where like they brought back characters from Dodgeball.
Right, he was in Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Oh, my nose is
There's so many comedies he's been in.
Oh yeah, Anchorman, but uncredited in Anchorman 2. Wes
Mantooth. Because weren't they like, I remember like brothers?
I don't think I saw that one.
The second one? Yeah, you didn't miss much.
He was in The Internship. I didn't see that, but it had a lot of controversy, so people will have heard of that one.
It's an advertisement for Google, The Internship.
Yeah, he's in some crappy movies. Couples Retreat, Four Christmases, Fred Claus.
Yeah.
Why is he 2 years, 2007 and 2008? He's in 2 Christmas movies.
Like, just Christmas movies.
He's in a lot of, like, looks like romantic comedies.
Yeah. Keeps on trying to play the lead. But, so, for this film, he plays this character called Bradley, who, when we first see him, he kind of looks like kind of a bald redneck guy. He's bald. He has, like, a cross tattooed on the back of his head.
He played Loki and Hercules.
Oh, wow.
Just a voice, it says. But I don't even remember that. It was in 1998, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? He was in Psycho.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Psycho. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Clearly, I'm not listening to you. He's got quite a filmography. Wow.
Yeah, he's been around the block. Which is why it's great to see that in kind of when he's getting older up in age that he's proven that he has more talent here. Because on one end, I thought that this role was just going to be one route for him. Because he starts off the film kind of looking like a redneck type guy. He's lost his job at an auto shop. And he comes home to his wife, finds out that his wife has been cheating on him. Because he sees her in the car talking to someone else and he knows what's going on. And before he goes into the house to talk to her, he basically beats the shit out of her car. Like he takes off like the mirrors. He starts like smashing in windows.
Sounds fair.
He grabs off the hood of the car and starts flinging it at the trash. He starts smashing his hand into like the headlights, and you just get the feeling like okay, man, something really terrible is going to go down when he goes inside. Mm-hmm. But no, even though his hands are bloody, he comes inside. He sits down with his wife and says like, look, we've made mistakes, but we've had a history of making mistakes. Maybe we can make it right. Maybe if we have a baby. And it's like, well, how can we? And it seems
that's the worst thing you can do when your relationship's falling apart.
True, but it seems weird, but like they seem to come to this consent where it's like, yeah, we can start over, but we have to find a way. Like you've lost your job, so what are we gonna do? And he decides like, look, you made a mistake, so I'm gonna make a mistake. He basically says, I'm gonna sell drugs so that we can have a better life. And for a few months,
you know what I hear is that people actually don't make hardly any money selling drugs. They make less than minimum wage usually. Drug dealers. But continue. It's like a pyramid scheme.
Sure, but I don't know. It's apparently he says like he knows somebody who is big on like the drug selling scheme, so he knows somebody. So he does that for a few months, and it's working out really well. He's got a really nice house. He's got a baby on the way. But like his latest drug deal, he has to work with some new cartel, and he's not feeling it. He knows something's wrong. And that the person he's working with, they could probably betray them, and they're probably going to make some stupid move on the job. Mm-hmm. And the thing I like about his character is that he looks like he looks like kind of like he's like a redneck, but he's very like soft spoken and very intelligent with his moves. I mean, he makes bad calls essentially, but he tries to figure out his best way out of a situation. Because when he goes on this latest mission to get some drugs for a cartel. The two people he's paired up with make a big mistake where the cops start shooting at them. And then he realizes the only way out of this is to just turn myself in. So he shoots the two guys and says, look, I surrender. And it's like, I'm not going to fight. I'll take the sentence. I'll take like the 5 or 6 or 7 years they're going to process me for. I'll just do it and get it over with. And so like he does it, and he gets end up in a medium security prison. And it's like okay, you know, it sucks, but I'll grin and bear it. But then he gets word from the cartel while he's in the prison that, look, you screwed up a deal, and we're gonna basically just gonna kill your wife unless you kill this guy in a high security prison. So you need to work your way up. So they put you in high security so you can kill this one guy. And the way that this film, it builds up, Bradley, like, I love the way that it's kind of slow. Like, they take you through the process of like how the cartel operation goes and then how prison life is. It feels very, very slow and methodical. But when he starts making these, you know, these violent works to try to move his way into like the high security prison, well, it starts off getting really violent. He starts picking fights with guards. He starts breaking arms, and they start fighting back really brutally. But once he gets to the high security prison, it's run by this really corrupt warden played by Don Johnson. And this film, it basically turns in, if anyone's seen like the story of Ricky, it pretty much turns into that. It goes insanely violent in the third act. Because you think like, okay, he's gonna go to the high security prison, he's gonna try to find this guy, and maybe he'll start sympathizing or start realizing what's going on with this guy. No, he starts getting even more violent towards them because he realizes, I don't want to just kill this guy. I want to kill everyone he's working for to make sure that no one's ever gonna hurt my wife again. And so it turns like gory. I mean, especially in terms of like, there's a lot of gore involved with like the face, in terms of like skin being ripped off faces and stuff like that.
Ooh, that's gross.
And it's mostly Vince Vaughn doing this.
Ooh.
And it gets
not cool.
It gets really raw and brutal at times. Just like, oh my god, I've never seen.
That's a movie I won't be watching.
Oh yeah, it gets ridiculous. Like if anyone's seen Story of Ricky, which just goes nuts with the gore, this is on that level. And it catches you off guard in the third act because everything up to that point, you know, it feels believable. You know, they establish enough of the cartel operation where it's like, okay, this seems like it's going to be kind of be like Sicario, where it's very detail oriented. And then you get to the prison, it's like, okay, it's very detailed with how the prison process is, especially when they showcase the entire process of just how he gets into prison and not just skate by in a montage. Like they take you step by step how he goes through there. And then the third act is just, it goes nuts. Like he's in this high security prison. They lock him down in like the kind of like this little torture area. Like Don Johnson really hams up this role as just this really corrupt warden who beats the shit out of everyone in there. It's like, man, this is insane. But it's pretty brutal. I love the way it's shot too. Like a lot of action films, the way they'll shoot scenes, especially like fight scenes, they'll have like the camera whip all over the place. The camera here is mostly stationary and long shots. So like when there's a fight in like the prison yard where he decides like, I'm gonna try to find out who this guy is by beating my way up to the top. There's a very long shot where we hold on it, we don't cut away. The camera doesn't bob or weave, and we just get to watch the choreography of him beating the shit out of other guys with weights. And it's very brutal. And especially the ending, when like they get to the resolution, it gets a little bit over the top. But in terms of like just this kind of like just violence inside a prison type movie, I kind of dug it. Especially because especially if you want to see Vince Vaughn as you've never seen him before.
Sounds too violent.
Oh, it's very violent. So yeah, it's not for the weak-stomached at all. But it's shocking. I really dug it.
I like to see violence. Not so much.
Not big into violence. Okay, well here's a film that's not big on violence at all. It's called Wonderstruck. It's the new film by Todd Haynes, and it's based on a book by Brian Selznick, who wrote the Invention of Hugo Cabri, which got adapted into Hugo by Martin Scorsese. And this is very... Yeah, and this is kind of on that same level. It's a very sweet film about kids. It involves this kid called Ben living in 1977, and he's trying to figure out stuff about his dad. But his mom just won't say anything about him. She's mostly on drugs, and she doesn't want to say much about her dad. She feels embarrassed, and so the kid decides to go off on his own.
Her dad or his dad?
Sorry, His dad. Sorry. Ben is trying to find out who his father is, but his mom won't say anything. So he goes tracking down some different information, but then like the worst thing happens when he's on the phone during a lightning storm. He gets hit and he's made deaf.
Okay.
So he's lost his hearing, and somehow he decides like, well, screw this. If I'm deaf, I really need to find out who my dad is. So he follows the trail of clues to New York. So he basically runs off on his own. This little boy who's about, I think, like 11 or 12, decides to run off on his own to New York and find out who his dad is through there. Now, while they're telling this story, they're also telling, parallel with this, a story of Rose, a deaf girl in 1927 who's living in New York. And naturally, they show how both their stories overlap because they're both deaf. They're both, wandering around New York. They're trying to figure out, what's going on with their parents. Like Rose is looking for her mother in New York, who's an actress who abandoned her because she feared like, oh, she's deaf and I can't look after her and any bad stuff could happen to her. So I just want to keep her at a distance. So their stories kind of parallel. You can see where they eventually do converge, but it's mostly just about them peeling back all this, all the discoveries about their parents, and it hits kind of the same beats as Hugo, where they start discovering like amazing thing about their parents. Like it leads them to a museum where he finds out that that his grandmother used to work on these massive dioramas that they'd use for the museum, and so you have lots of cool little visuals like that. There's little sweet moments. I really like how they reveal the backstory of his dad through kind of like a diorama miniatures that they kind of have in like stop motion and then put little pictures of their faces on these little dolls. So there's a little bit of there's some visual creativeness in there, especially the 1927 sequences are all in black and white and completely silent. Mm-hmm. And like with Ben's arc, it's not as silent. Like he's just recently deaf, so he still ends up talking to people a lot. They don't let the sound drop out as much there, especially because they want to play some more of that 70s music. They play a lot of David Bowie, just to get you in the mood. Well, when I say a lot of David Bowie, I mean they keep playing Space Odyssey or Space Oddity a lot. So yeah, on one level, it's kind of a very, very somber, very, very cute film you can watch with your kids if you want them to watch something that's a little thoughtful, a little bit of a tearjerker, something that the kids can enjoy on their own, especially for...
How old of a kid?
How old of a kid? I would say probably maybe like 8 or maybe like 8, somewhere between like 8 and 12 maybe, I think might be a good age for that. Just because it's mostly an adventure with kids, who find themselves, like, especially, I guess, the big thing you could promote it as, is for someone who's deaf, trying to find their way through the world and trying to struggle with the way that, some adults might look down on them. I think it might appeal on that level, but at the same time, I think a lot of the whimsy they try to put in here, I don't think Todd Haynes makes it as earned as I think it should be. I think he gets a little bit too caught up in how lighthearted and how sweet this type of story would be. Because I think he gets a little bit carried away with some of these visual aspects, and some of the paralleling stories just kind of seem odd at times, where it kind of comes together in the end, but for the most of the film, you're just trying to decipher, okay, where's this going here? Because most of the film is just kind of meandering between, playing music between scenes where we can't really hear what the characters are doing, and just trying to like peel back like different parts of like the mystery. Like Ben keeps on having visions of wolves, which relate to his dad because his dad used to work on a diorama of wolves. So it's kind of all over the place. It didn't quite work for me. But if you're looking for something for your kids that's a little bit intelligent, kind of an interesting little adventure that kids can go on, I'd say it's worth a look.
I don't think our kid would like that.
Probably not that. I think it might be a little too slow, but I think if your kid's a little older and you're looking for something to watch like after Hugo, that might be a good film to pursue. Just because I think it's pretty to look at. And the kids are interesting to follow, and the dialogue feels very natural and sweet. It didn't do it for me as much as I thought it would. So not a bad film, but I could see why it got lost in the shuffle, because last year they had all these other films with Wonder in the title.
Yeah, there was one just called Wonder, wasn't there?
There's one just called Wonder, and then around that same time they had Wonder Wheel, and then before that there was Wonder Woman, and now we got Wonderstruck. And so many Wonder films.
People want the wonder.
If only we had an Alice in Wonderland film, then we'd have the full wonders.
Yeah, you saw the last Alice in Wonderland film.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, right. I don't want another Wonderland film. So, going more on the like both these are on like Amazon Prime right now. But I'll shift more to stuff I was catching up with on Netflix. One that both you and I watched was the documentary Jim and Andy.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago when we watched that.
Mm-hmm. And this is supposedly like a film that like it had to finally jump through a bunch of legal hoops to get approved of, because it's essentially just behind the scenes footage of Jim Carrey while he was trying to portray Andy Kaufman during the Man on the Moon that he was filming. And basically, like, it showed him like getting so much into character that he started just annoying, being an ass and annoying everyone involved with this film. And I understand, like, you know, from a legal perspective, you know, the studio didn't want to release that footage, and also because of, you know, how some of it ended up being on the news.
Well, the way he interacted with Andy Kaufman's parents was really weird.
And that was like the most surreal stuff. And the thing is, like, I get the feeling that the documentary is supposed to be kind of both like sweet and understanding, but in many aspects you're kind of like, this is getting a little too far.
Yeah, like he took it way too far.
And especially, and I think it mainly has to do with how they directed this, because they have Jim Carrey narrating most of it, or at least providing voiceover to layer on top of it.
He sounds so depressed all the time now.
Yeah, and it feels like he's talking about stuff entirely different from his work on Man on the Moon.
He just basically sounds like how he's talking about how depressed he is. I don't know.
Well, it feels more like
he paints now.
It felt like they were making two different films here. It felt like when they were filming, it was like they're making a Jim Carrey documentary, and when they show the actual footage,
it's all about Andy Kaufman.
It's all about Andy Kaufman. And so you have these conflicting forces here, and I think it mainly has to do with the direction, just because the way that they direct this footage, it kind of makes it feels like it's trying to tell a story of how devoted Jim is. But the more you kind of watch it, if you take it out of context with the music and everything, it seems a little too creepy for this type of material. Like, it feels like it should be more. It shouldn't like have as much, you know, like music layered on top of it, or have so much of like Jim Carrey's, you know, sweetness of perspective inside of it. He
does abstract paintings, and now he looks pretty creepy because of that beard.
That big beard, man. You can't shake it. When's he gonna do Santa Claus? Or does he do Santa Claus?
He did do Santa Claus in that one bit.
Oh, you're right.
They did like a drunk history sort of night before Christmas.
Yep. Oh my, drunk history. So other stuff on Netflix. There was a little film that came out there. Is fairly micro budget film. It was called Wheelman. This is a film that it's written and directed by Jeremy Rush, and it stars Frank Grillo as a sort of driver for heists. And you know, he's out on the town. He's taking on like this latest job, but then he gets a phone call from somebody who says like, "Look, the people you're on a heist with, they're gonna shoot and kill you once they get back in the car. So take off with the money and do what I say." It's kind of like, I don't know. And it just takes off. And then he starts getting phone call after phone call after phone call, deciding who to trust and what to do next. And it's basically just him driving all over the city, trying to figure out this whole deal, occasionally stopping, occasionally shooting at someone who's trying to get back at him. And the whole gimmick is that it mostly just takes place inside the car. Like, even when he gets outside the car, we're watching from inside, him going out to like do his next bit, make the next trade, shoot the next person. The thing is, the film, it's not the first film to do this. I've seen other films do this, like Ethan Hawke was in a film called The Getaway, which is just a car chase film entirely inside the car. Not a new gimmick, but I like the fact that it's mostly just, it's fairly micro budget film. It's mostly just Frank Grillo in the car on the phone yelling back at people. And like the dialogue just ropes you in here. It feels very, very, very natural and very gritty. And the story just keeps going through twist after twist after twist. And considering that it's mostly just shot in a car is kind of like a micro budget film, it's actually pretty cool. I mean, actually, up until like they get to the big car chase they have to have, or more guns come out and they have to shoot at the car, it's pretty clever. And I really dug Frank Grillo in it, so it's a neat little film. It's been to a few film festivals. Netflix picked it up, so give that a watch. Another film I'll go over here is it came out in October. I was kind of looking forward to this film. It's called The Babysitter. It's an odd little film. It's directed by Mick G, who you might know. He directed the Charlie's Angel movie and Terminator Salvation. He's directed a bunch of like dopey action films. And Babysitter feels like an even weirder kind of like dopey horror comedy. Because it seems like it's set up kind of like a John Hughes like coming of age comedy. It's about this little boy named Cole. He's 12 years old, and he's got a teenage girl for a babysitter, and they get along really well. She teaches him the ropes. They geek out on stuff, and they have a really great relationship.
Babysitting.
It seems like that. They set it up kind of in that kind of like nerdy, like silly type way. Like they have a lot of fun reenacting westerns. So it seems like a very sweet film. But then one night, when he's asleep, he overhears something going on downstairs. And he goes downstairs and finds out that she's playing Spin the Bottle with some of her teenage friends. And they direct the bottle to the nerd of the group, and she has to go up and kiss the nerd. And Cole's kind of like, oh man, she's like, I kind of love this girl. Like, why is she doing this? But then when she kisses the nerd, she stabs him in the head and drains out all his blood. Because apparently this collective of teenagers, I know, and when he sees that, even he is kind of like, what the fuck happened here? Because apparently this collective of teenagers with her have formed this kind of like satanic cult where they have to have like the blood of the innocent or whatever to become immortal. Like an innocent nerd, and then eventually, and they have to have Cole's blood as well to make it work. So, but like rather...
This is why we only have family members watch our kids.
Yeah. But rather than kill Cole, she wants to just drug him and then just like take an injection and take some of the blood out of him. The only problem is he's awake and discovers this, and it's basically from that point it's mostly just him trying to avoid these teenagers trying to kill him and make it out of the house alive, and mostly just him picking them off one by one. And they stage it as a comedy, but they're trying way too hard to make it a comedy. They're trying to crack as many jokes as they can. Like they have a running joke like that the black guy, he gets blood on the most whenever someone gets stabbed or shot or anything like that. There's a lot of tasteless jokes here. Like one woman gets stabbed in the boob, and then she starts going on like a revenge spree. She thinks like my life is over because I don't have my boobs anymore. There's a lot of...
It's kind of insulting to all the women who've had mastectomies, but whatever.
There is. It's kind of bizarre. They try to go... McGee tries to go crazy with it like he does with all his films, but I think it really proves how kind of out of touch he is, because there's a lot of moments where he's trying to be like kind of like the cool director who's in with the kids. Like he keeps throwing like text at the screen, like he tries to do like an 80s introduction of like the babysitters. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, like he tries putting like stupid phrases, like at one point he has a pocket knife to try to like Cole has a pocket knife to cut off the ropes that they've trapped him with, and the text flashes on screen like pocket knife bitches. Oh. It's like, ooh, no, McGee, no. And it's so bizarre because like it has like this premise where it feels like it's trying to be like a John Hughes 80s film, and it doesn't. And then it kind of feels like it's trying to be a 70s exploitation film sometimes, and then it doesn't. Then it feels like it's trying to be like a hip film with the kids of today, and it doesn't. It's just trying to be so many things. It's nothing. It's junk. So yeah, I was really disappointed in The Babysitter. Another film that you and I actually watched on Christmas.
Home Alone?
We watched Home Alone. This is a fairly new one. It's Pottersville. Remember that? The small town Bigfoot movie.
Oh yeah, the creepy looking dude.
Yeah, Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon always looks pretty creepy, I guess.
Big eyes.
The story of Pottersville, like this, it feels like it could have just been like a forgettable direct-to-video type story, but I think it did
feel very direct-to-video, but then we did watch it at home, so.
That's true. I mean, it came on streaming services. It only came on home video about a month before that, and
yeah, that's it. Was it in theaters?
I think it might have been briefly in theaters, but not for very long.
Didn't hear about it in theaters.
Yeah, because it's released by Echo Bridge, and Echo Bridge really doesn't do theatrical films at all.
You sure it was theatrically released then? It might have been.
It might not have been.
It felt very direct to video.
It felt direct to video, but it helps that they have like kind of like the ultimate kind of B-list actors here. They got the ultimate ensemble. They got Michael Shannon playing the kindly store owner who's just trying to make ends meet.
It was an alright movie, though.
It's sweet.
It's okay.
And I think it's mostly just because the actors enhance it more. Because like Michael Shannon plays like such a like sweet and aloof guy who's not quite sure how to handle his recent separation from his wife, who turns out to be a furry.
The way he played it when he walked in on his wife in the fursuit with the other guy who he knew, played by
Ron Perlman.
Was pretty like.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, and it's so hilarious just for how they play it so naturally, because Michael Shannon is just kind of caught off guard, doesn't know what to do, and his wife, played by Christina Hendrickson, is just kind of like, look, I didn't want it to come out this way, but I'm a furry, and Ron Perlman is just like, please don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, man.
Wasn't he the cop or sheriff?
He's the sheriff of this community, and he's a furry. Then he's like, I don't want anyone to know.
Oh, but then there's the television host played by the guy from Reno 911.
Yep.
I don't remember any of the characters' names right now, or the actors. What is he?
The actor is Thomas Lennon, who most people know as Dangle from Reno 911. And he plays Brock Masterson, who is a reality monster hunter TV show host who puts on a fake Australian accent.
Yeah. Well, when he meets up with the furries, he almost like instantly becomes one. He's like, oh yeah.
We have
whatever floats your boat.
I just realized we didn't even talk about the premise of the film yet, which is that Michael Shannon.
Does the premise matter?
Well, kind of, because it's an interesting premise. I mean, Michael Shannon one night decides to get so drunk and puts on a gorilla costume, and people mistake him for Bigfoot. And so the whole community starts thinking that Bigfoot is around, and it brings up tourism.
He put on the costume so he could, try to reconcile with his wife. By being like, okay, if this is what you like,
this is what you want.
I'll try.
But I think you're saying context to like it was more from like a drunken like kind of revenge thing. It was like, this is what you want, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
And so he gets drunk and runs around the community in a gorilla costume. And so everyone's all excited because Bigfoot's around, so they invite the reality show guy to come hunt him down. And then the problem is they get a real hunter involved, played by Ian McShane. Yeah,
he was creepy.
Yeah, well, Ian McShane's usually pretty creepy.
Nasal spray on the table.
Like, most people remember him from, like Deadwood, playing, like, the foul-mouthed guy, and he's kind of has that persona here. Just kind of like, you're all idiots,
He's a creepy hermit in the movie. So.
Yeah. He's kind of like the charismatic hermit. He's smart enough to know, like,
Charismatic. I don't know if you know what charismatic means.
he has character to him. Like, you like him in terms of, like, the context of how he kind of takes his role more seriously than the other members of the community. Like, when he goes hunting, like, he's serious about it. He thinks, like, you're all dopes for hunting this Bigfoot character, but if you're really going to do it, you do it right. And so when he encounters Brock Masterson, who knows nothing about, hunting or camping, he entirely screws with them. It's just so, and it culminates in probably like the weirdest ending of like a community coming together for Christmas. That's just it's so lovable just because like they got this cast together and made this really bizarre story kind of work. Because I couldn't see the story working with any other actors, So I don't know. I really dug the film. It's just kind of a bizarre little.
I liked it, but it's very forgettable.
It could be very forgettable. In terms of like the talent assembled, it's worth checking out if you love any of them. Like I really dig.
See furry Ron Perlman.
Or if you really want to see furry Ron Perlman. And then the one other film I wanted to mention from Netflix was Cult of Chucky.
They made another Chucky movie?
They made another Chucky film. And it's again written by the creator of all the Chucky films, Don Mancini.
He's got nothing better to do than write Chucky films.
He's got nothing better to do.
No original premises, huh?
Well, he's got nothing better to sell. I mean, it's easier to sell like, hey, how about another Child's Play film? Like, all right. People kind of dig him. And I love the fact that he's taking these films and he's kind of rolling with them. He kind of finds fun stuff to do with Chucky. Like this time he finds like, how about we have multiple Chuckies terrorizing this one woman inside an insane asylum with other people who believe there are other Chuckies. So you kind of create
the Chuckening.
The Chuckening. It kind of is, because there's this really great scene where there's 3 duplicate Chuckies all arguing with each other.
Why are there 3? Why are there more than 1?
Because Chucky somehow found a way to duplicate his soul across multiple Chuckies.
That's messed up, man.
It is messed up, and it is ridiculous and silly and stupid, but the film mostly realizes this. It knows that, you're not here for any kind of, like, grand story of trying to decipher Chucky. You're here to see Chucky make some really ridiculous jokes and then kill people in very, very disturbing ways. And he does. And it has probably the most bizarre endings where Chucky ends up kind of winning in the end, more or less. So
that is bizarre.
Yeah. Especially because, like, they still have Andy involved with this story. Remember from, like, the first Child's Play, he's still around.
Is he the kid in the first one?
Yeah.
Oh.
They all,
kid.
I think they all just kind of involve Andy in some way. Because, like, the first film had him as a kid, and the second film had kid moving up in grade, the third one had him as in military school. It's just, he's like the perpetual hero of the Child's Play films.
So that actor will always have a role, as long as that guy keeps making Child's Play movies.
He could. He got a good thing going, man. I can't wait for the next Child's Play movie. Because it ended with him locked in the asylum while Chucky makes off with his girlfriend. I forgot who it was from Bride of Chucky.
Tiffany?
I think it's Tiffany, yeah. Because she pops up back again, so.
Doesn't she interact with the actress who plays her in one of the films? I've only seen part of the first one.
Yeah, because
I was a kid when they came out, and I had parents who didn't want to give me nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might be Tiffany. I don't think you see her actual doll in there, but they have her human character implied. Mm-hmm. That she might be getting back into a doll. So.
Okay. Huh.
So it's very bizarre. Did
they have a baby together?
They did. Seed of Chucky.
Seed of Chucky. When I see kids dressed up as horror characters like that, I'm like, you either have really bad parents or you had no choice in what your costume was. Yeah. Because you should not be letting, like, toddlers watch Child's Play.
No.
Because that's usually what I see is, like, a toddler, somewhere between 2 and 5, dressed up as Chucky, and I'm like, you have, like, the worst parents.
This is like
other
good
people, all the comments are like, oh, it's so cool, and I'm like, maybe from a visual aspect, but probably not for that kid, because that kid probably doesn't even know what's going on. No. I hope.
Hopefully not.
I hope no one's letting their 2-year-olds watch Child's Play. That's not right.
It's like, did you really watch Child's Play? No, I watched Child's Play 3. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I can't wait for more of these Chucky films, because they honestly, like, you feel like they could run out of steam, but they're just ridiculous enough with their lore where they're kind of fun to follow. They're kind of like reading those little dorky comic books of like Chucky versus Freddy or something like that.
Oh, really? Chucky versus Freddy? Is that a thing?
It might be. There was a lot of versus.
That sounds funny.
I remember.
I know there was Freddy versus Jason. I didn't watch the movie, but I know how it ends.
Well, back in the 90s, there were a lot of versus comics. Like, they had Alien versus Predator comics. They had
an Alien versus Predator movie, too. Which
Yeah.
I heard is better than Freddy versus Jason. Not really my thing, though.
I'm kind of on par with them. In terms of those versus films. They were fun. My favorite one was Freddy versus Jason versus Ash from Evil Dead.
That was a movie?
It was a comic book.
Oh, okay.
It was a really fun comic book.
That could be interesting. I like Ash from Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I liked Evil Dead. I'm pretty sure I saw the first one, second one, and Army of Darkness, and some of that TV show, Ash vs. Evil.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
good times.
Who doesn't love Ash?
Fan of Bruce Campbell, especially when he played the King of Thieves in Hercules. It was King of Thieves, right? Or was it Prince of Thieves? I don't know. Something of Thieves.
I think it was Prince of Thieves.
So long ago.
Because it didn't.
Prince of Thieves, yes.
Because it didn't cross over with. No, wait, it didn't. Yeah, because I was thinking because he was in that other show, Jack of All Trades.
That was a different show.
It's a different show, yeah.
That was a different show in a completely different time period. And he wore a little mask.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that one too. Hank Azaria played like a French governor or something.
Yeah.
And when they brought in Napoleon, it was Vernon Troyer. Because, I don't know, people like to think that Napoleon was really short, but he wasn't short for his time.
Yeah.
It's just that when people saw him, he was next to soldiers that are, selected for their height and, intimidation. Their intimidating features, whereas he was just a normal-sized dude at the time. I think he was like 5'7".
Yeah.
He was normal at the time. He was normal height.
That's like the total like embellishment Raimi move there, or like something that would like attract Campbell to that. Because I was thinking like the other stuff he's done, like he got attracted to Xena, which is crazy.
I'm thinking about Joxer the Mighty from Xena and Hercules.
Yeah, he
Raimi brothers.
He got roped into Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Haven't seen that one.
Oh man!
I have heard of that one though. It has that one guy who played the lazy ass brother from Everybody Loves Raymond, who is the brother of Raymond's brother's wife. Does that make any sense?
A little out there.
See, I'm sorry, I can't
That's
remember
okay.
the character. He was probably in other stuff I saw too, but I think he's a character actor, and he's got like short red hair and a kind of bald on the top and a beard.
Oh, okay.
Does that guy sound right?
He sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember him from the show,
up.
but I don't remember him.
I have a computer in front of me. I can look this up. What was the name of that show you mentioned?
Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Another great film to check out Ash in is, another great movie to check out Ash in would be This Is Bruce.
I'm thinking of a completely different show.
It's a different show? Alright.
Yeah, because it just has Bruce Campbell on the cover.
Ah.
And it was in the early 90s, so
Oh well.
I wasn't watching those kind of shows then. I did watch Hercules, though.
Gotta watch
Hercules. I
Hercules.
can think of.
I was trying to think, did Jack of All Trades and Cleopatra 2525 ever cross over?
No, but they aired at the same time. They're in completely different time periods.
Because that's what I was thinking. Because they aired the same time slot. I was thinking like maybe they do some weird time travel crossover or something like that. But no, I don't remember that. Would have been cool though. Because like Hercules and Xena crossed over a couple times, didn't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they were in the same time period.
Mm-hmm. They could use time travel.
That's a big difference.
They could use time travel in the future.
Oh, that's
That would have been hilarious. I'd love to see that.
Chris Elliott was the guy I was thinking of.
Oh yeah.
He was in like a comedic show. Oh, he was in Schitt's Creek. That's the other thing
Yeah.
I've seen him in.
Yeah, Chris Elliott has been everything.
I saw a whole bunch of advertisements for a show a while back.
He was in a... he had his
I'm
own.
not gonna be able to find it though. He's in like everything.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, look at all this.
You've seen Chris Elliott a few places. You know him either as like the shoe fetish guy from There's Something About Mary, or
Oh right, I forgot about that movie.
or you might have heard his. You've probably heard his voice in a number of stuff like Dogbert from the Dilbert cartoon.
He's in King of the Hill.
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother, Law and Order Special Victims Unit twice. Different characters though.
Yeah. If you grew up in the 90s, you might know him from the Tostitos commercials. So he's been around everywhere. You can't avoid Chris Elliott.
I don't think it was even him in that ad I was seeing. It must just be a guy who kind of looks like him, or I've replaced him in the ad in my head.
No,
Does that sound ridiculous or what?
It's Chris Elliott. He's replaced him in your head.
Yeah.
He's going to fill in for that role. All right. So next thing, I was going to skim over the Oscar nominations. Not go over all of them, but just like note a few things that I thought were worth noting. Namely, because you and I were kind of talking about it, the up for Best Picture, we got 2 horror films up in there.
Oh yeah.
We got Get Out and we got The Shape of Water, and it's looking really good for The Shape of Water. It might actually win. We might actually have a horror film win for Best Picture. Because like the only other things that I could think might topple that would probably be like 3 Billboards is like the safe bet for a lot of these categories. The Post I think is too Oscar baity because it's Steven Spielberg type thing. Because like the only one of the ones I could think that might take it would be either like Darkest Hour or Dunkirk. Just talk about a pair, you know. Either that.
Sorry, it's still driving me crazy that I can't remember the name of this TV show.
What was it about?
I don't know, but I kept seeing ads for it on like Archer or something. I think it was Eagleheart.
Oh, Eagleheart. That the parody of Chuck Norris.
Oh, that did have Chris Elliott in it.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't replace him. Yeah.
So it is Chris Elliott.
Yeah.
You can't escape him, man.
It just was from a different time than I thought it was, apparently, and it didn't have much in the Internet Movie Database or whatever.
Yeah. He's been everywhere.
Buried in here. Oh, I found it now. I found it. He plays Chris Monsanto. I remember that name from the ad.
Ah.
So that's how I was able to find it.
Because
Monsanto is the name of a company that makes pesticides and patents seeds everywhere as much as they can.
So you'll remember it.
So they can seed. Yeah, so it's easy to remember.
Easy to remember. Well, catchy name for a character. Let's see. The Best Actor nominations, I don't think anyone's going to disagree that Gary Oldman's pretty much going to win for Darkest Hour.
So I don't pay attention to awards shows. Have they happened already, or are they going to happen?
They just listed they started the Oscar nominations this week.
Oh.
And then later next month they'll do it.
About this shit.
But like, I think it's gonna be Gary Oldman because like the only one to beat is like Daniel Day-Lewis. Because like I said, like
I didn't see his movies, so.
well Day-Lewis is usually like a big Oscar contender type thing, and this is like supposed to be his. This is supposed to be his last film.
It's all over the background of Internet Movie Database. It looks like he lost some weight. I don't know.
Yeah,
His face looks like it lost volume. I have seen him in Gangs of New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him in something else, probably. Now I have to look him up.
It's been around.
I don't have a good memory for actors. Probably know more than some other people, but their names and I don't know. Sometimes people ask me, "Oh, who is in that?" or "Which character was that?" I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember character names in movies at all either.
Yeah. Because like the other nominations, like they got Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name. I think he should be nominated for. I think he was much better in Lady Bird, so I think he should be nominated for that. Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out. is really good. I don't know if he'll get there just because he's a fairly new actor. Then you got Denzel Washington and Roman J. Israel Esquire, which it kind of feels more obligatory because I know a lot of people really didn't dig him as much in that film.
So for Daniel Day-Lewis, the only movies I've seen him in are Gangs of New York and The Crucible.
Oh, yeah.
And The Crucible I only saw because I had to watch it at school.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because, I mean, he was in Lincoln. I feel like I should see that one.
Yeah,
and
Lincoln.
There will be blood. I always wanted to see, but I don't know. You watched it without me, so I never saw it. So.
Yeah, we'll catch up on it.
I don't care anymore. But there are ads for the Phantom Thread all over Internet Movie Database.
Yeah.
So clearly they bought some space.
Yep, it's January time.
Shameless.
Shameless, yeah, the Showtime show.
Show with William H. Macy looking kind of slightly emaciated at the top.
Yep, it's a big one right now. Let's see. For lead actress, this one is kind of up in the air because you got Meryl Streep competing with a whole bunch of fairly new people. I mean, you got Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. You got Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards. I think that might be, again, the safe bet. Sally Hawkins, The Shape of Water. I think she's fairly new. Probably won't win for that. I really want to see Saoirse Ronan win for Lady Bird. Just because she's a fairly new actress and it'd be really cool to see her up on stage like that. Best Supporting Actor. My personal pick is Willem Dafoe. Because I think The Florida Project is one of the best roles of his career. But I think the safe bet is probably going to be either Sam Rockwell in 3 Billboards or Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World. Although I was surprised, though, Richard Jenkins got in for The Shape of Water, which if that would actually be kind of like he'd be like the dark horse. That'd be a big surprise there. And then of course Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards again. So.
Was there a different award show that happened recently?
There was the Golden Globes a few weeks ago.
Excuse me.
Okay. So yeah, that happened.
Kind of getting over it.
There you go. And the nominations put out for the Online Film and Television Association Awards, which I filled out my ballot for that one, so that'll be coming up in a few weeks. Yeah, like the Oscar nominations are just the most recent ones that were listed. For Best Supporting Actress, they got Mary J. Blige in Mudbound, Allison Janney in I, Tonya, Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer in The Shape of Water. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mary J. Blige. Just because she's a fairly new talent. I think she really shines in Mudbound against this huge ensemble of these other casts in this Mississippi drama. But I'm kind of torn. I'd also kind of like to see Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. She played the mom who was very concerned about her daughter wanting to go off to college and didn't want her to leave or didn't want her to try out for other scholarships and just feared for her safety, which could make her the villain, but they reveal enough about her character where you really get to like her. So yeah, pretty sure it's going to be Mary J. Blige though. Though it would be cool to see Octavia Spencer win. So for Best Director, they got Christopher Nolan in Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for The Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water. This is a little bit of a tough one. I guess the safe bet would be Guillermo del Toro. Like I said, I didn't think that The Shape of Water was his best film, but hey, if this can get him an Oscar, sure, let him win.
I have a question.
Yes.
Special Unit?
Oh, are we still on Chris Elliott?
Titus on the cover. Christopher Titus in a movie looking intense. It looks really weird.
Christopher Titus?
I got to this because I clicked on Travis Eberhard's page because he plays Mojo in the newest Tex Murphy game, which I think came out in 2014.
Yeah.
And he's known for playing Mick in Special Unit, which came out in 2017, and it has Christopher Titus on the cover going like this. I'm like, what the...
Another small film that snuck in there?
I guess.
Why isn't he nominated in here? Christopher Titus. Special Unit.
There's a movie called No Malone.
No Malone. Damn it! Now we can't do that for next Romeo and Juliet movie. Hell, they got Sherlock Gnome.
Why? Ah!
Because actually, Romeo and Juliet, it's not too bad. I don't know about Sherlock Gnomes, but I'll have to see. It was surprisingly not that bad.
Here is the synopsis of Special Unit, or the summary, whatever.
Okay.
Due to the Fairness in Disabilities Act, the Van Nuys PD is forced to hire 4 handicapped undercover detectives, and their training officer happens to be the worst cop in LA. Director, Christopher Titus. Writer, Christopher Titus.
Oh man, now I have to see this.
That's why I had to bring this up to you, because Christopher Titus is like largely pictured on it. I don't see him in the credited cast, but his face is flippin' huge on the poster, and the poster looks ridiculous.
So he's obviously in it somewhere.
Yeah, I would hope so if he's on the cover.
Or is it like a Neil Breen type deal where he's not in it that much, but he's on the cover?
Well, let's see. I'm still looking for him in the credits here. Or, in the cast. I'm not finding him.
Maybe he makes an uncredited appearance, but because he's the only big name, they plaster him on the front.
The actors in this is just called Sammy the Dwarf. As an actor. His character name is Detective.
Maybe that's like it's notable.
Yeah, Christopher Titus is like way down on the page, but he's in it.
Okay.
He's not one of the main characters, though. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Well, you put your biggest star on the front, so...
I guess.
Are there any other big stars in that? No?
No one I've heard of, but that's probably not saying anything. Michael Aronin, Rachel Bradley, Regan Burns,
No, nobody...
Kenyelle Caldwell. He looks like a child actor.
Nobody big, no.
Larry Joe Campbell, Paul Carafoltz.
No.
No, I've never heard of any of these people.
No big names, so Christopher Titus goes in the front. That's how it goes.
It's like on there, let's see. The ones that it lists as stars is Michael Aronin, Rachel Bradley, Regan Burns. Yeah, never heard of any of those people.
Yeah, no names. Small film. What you gonna do?
But it is a comedy. It could. Well, it
sounds
funny.
like a comedy.
It should be a comedy because Christopher Titus is a comedian.
Yeah. So, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, my current obsession is Tex
Murphy games.
I want to play the new game, but we don't have it yet. So.
Yeah, I don't get it. So for Best Animated Feature, and this is they got The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, Loving Vincent, and The Boss Baby.
I want to see Loving Vincent so bad.
Isn't it weird that Loving Vincent has to share the same category as The Boss Baby?
Yeah, that's really sad. I hope they win over The Boss Baby because I hate The Boss Baby.
Well, no, Coco's going to win.
Oh, right, sure. Coco. Yeah, I just heard Loving Vincent. I'm like, I want to see that so bad because it's that one where every frame is oil painting.
Yeah. But like the Academy will do this every year. They'll pick like the 3 biggest ones, and then they'll pick 2 smaller independent animated films to throw them a bone. So like Loving Vincent was an obvious one, and the Breadwinner, the international animated film that's been making the rounds at festivals, obviously that's going to be in there too. I was surprised though. Like I was kind of hoping that they would favor Captain Underpants.
Oh, right. That one came out in 2017.
Yeah, because
we really liked that one. I loved it.
I loved it. Yeah, it was neat. It was creative. It had great character. It was very witty with its humor. It was very very experimental with its animation too, which a lot of these CG animated films tend to go on the easy route. Especially The Boss Baby. Like The Boss Baby is just like typical big-eyed characters as usual. Which it's kind of weird because like honestly my top 3 of last year was like Coco, Captain Underpants, Lego Batman movie.
Yeah.
And I think most people would agree. Those are the big ones.
I saw some of those.
Yeah.
It's a good sign, right? I bothered to see them.
Well, you saw them, and like, because you dug Lego Batman and Captain Underpants.
Oh yeah, those were great.
Yeah,
those were great.
Those are genuinely
of the kids' movies I had to see. Those were great.
Well, those are genuinely enjoyable films. Like, not even just like okay, it's for kids. I guess I gotta watch it. But like, no, I generally enjoyed watching all three of those films.
I'm still looking up people who were in Tex Murphy games.
Okay.
You know that guy who played Thomas Malloy, the old dude?
Yeah.
He's been in movies since the 1940s. Like, a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy who was also in Dallas, he's been in a lot of stuff recently.
Oh, nice.
So.
Let's see, you still got work. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. In Best Adapted Screenplay, the nominations they got are Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Molly's Game, Mudbound, and Logan. That's kind of a big thing, because you don't really see comic book movies nominated for Best Scripts. So I'm kind of pulling for it as like kind of the dark horse to come out of the blue and win and just win this category. I know it's probably going to end up going to Mudbound or The Disaster Artist. I think those are the two to beat. But if it went to Logan, oh my God, that would be a great sign for comic book movies about where they need to go if they want to get that acclaim. Because like the other thing, a lot of people are saying like they were acting surprised that Wonder Woman was snubbed from these nominations.
Well, it had a lot of better movies to contest with, probably.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially because Logan feels like it's more than just like your average superhero film, and most superhero movies that have that end with a big fight of CGI explosions and trying to defeat a villain called Dr. Poison usually don't get Oscar nods. Because I enjoyed Wonder Woman. It's a great superhero film. But it's not on like the level of Logan. Like it's still kind of goofy. It realizes it's goofy and doesn't take itself too seriously, which is what a lot of these DC films tend to do. So yeah, it's decent popcorn entertainment. But they're acting like oh well, it should be higher up because like DC or because it's inspiring to women. It's like no, it's we have a female-led popcorn blockbuster film, but you got to realize most popcorn blockbuster films don't get awards because like they always make that argument. It's like
they make the money, not the awards.
Yeah, because they'll always make this argument like, oh well, Wonder Woman wasn't nominated despite being one of the best, one of the biggest box office hits of the year. It's like and I love how they always use that argument. It's like that usually doesn't determine how great a film is.
Yeah.
Because if it were to determine, for best scripts and for best picture, then Beauty and the Beast would be up there. Star Wars The Last Jedi would be up there. There was a time when Transformers movies would be up there as the biggest grossers, not anymore. So yeah, don't box office is not a judge of these awards.
I found something sad.
Oh god.
Looking at Tex Murphy stuff.
What would I have on Tex Murphy?
The guy who played McMullen died in 2004, and this was the only acting role he did. He was the casting director for Under the Killing Moon. Sorry. Okay.
Oh no, Tex Murphy people.
He's the brother of the guy who plays Tex Murphy.
Okay. All right. Let's see what. Best original screenplay. I got The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, and Three Billboards. Three Billboards safe. The Big Sick, I think, is the dark horse. It's probably going to win this one. Because a lot of people are raving about The Big Sick. Just because it's an original screenplay, but it's semi-biographical on Kumail's life, so chances are it might win.
Internet Movie Database is showing the ad for Tonya.
I, Tonya, yeah. The Tonya Harding story.
Tonya Harding.
I, Tonya.
It's spelled Tonya. Harding. But they've got those, like, the hair,
Yeah.
But I mean, she's the one who, like, broke the gal's leg and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see a sympathetic movie about her.
This one's kind of a bigger deal. Best cinematography. They have Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, and The Shape of Water. Now, this is kind of a big category because Mudbound cinematography was done by Rachel Morrison, and this is the first woman nominated for Best Cinematography like ever. So that's kind of a big deal. A lot of people are rooting for her to win, but at the same time, Roger Deakins has been nominated like 14 times, and if he should win for anything, he should probably win for Blade Runner 2049. Because that film is just gorgeous to look at. Every single shot there is just amazing, from like the lighting to the architecture to the shot angles to the way they shoot the costumes, everything. It's just an amazing film to look at. So I'm really torn, but I'm going for Deakins. Yeah, I really want Deakins to win. I was kind of dismayed by Best Documentary. The nominations for that were Abacus, Faces Places, Icarus, Last Men in Aleppo, and Strong Island. I've seen Abacus, Faces Places, and Last Men in Aleppo. I was hoping City of Ghosts would be nominated, but I guess they didn't want two films about Syria in the same one because they're kind of interchangeable. They're kind of about the same story, more or less, about from that area. But based on these, I'd probably say like Last Men in Aleppo has it locked up for that category. Let's see as many of the shorts. Can't really do those. For Best Foreign Film, I was surprised that BPM didn't make it on here because a lot of people are raving about BPM. But the only nominations we got are Fantastic Woman, The Insult, Loveless, On Body and Soul, and The Square. Now, I've seen The Insult, I've seen A Fantastic Woman, and I've seen The Square. And between those, I think it's a battle between The Insult and The Square. And it might be more on The Square just because I think that's been getting a lot more acclaim. But at the same time, like The Insult is just starting to come out in a few markets, so it might have a bigger pull. It might have a better Oscar campaign because it's just starting to actually come out now across the country. So might have some pull there. Best Film Editing, we got Baby Driver, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards. I am hoping for Baby Driver, just because Edgar Wright really knows how to make a car chase feel exciting and tight within those shots. So I really hope that it's Baby Driver.
Yeah, I know you love that movie. I liked it too. It was good.
I love it. Who doesn't love Baby Driver? It's fun.
It was a good movie.
He's good. He's good. We kind of had the same nominations here for Best Sound Editing. They got Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. I think for sound, there's no question it's going to be Dunkirk. Because Dunkirk, the sounds you hear of like the bombers coming overhead and the explosions and the gunshots, like it's cranked up to 11 and it really makes you feel how horrifying it was to be on that beach. So same deal for like the sound mixing has the exact same nominations as well. So it's definitely going to be Dunkirk for both. Little more tricky here. They got Best Production Design. They have Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, and The Shape of Water.
Beauty and the Beast came out this year. I forgot all about that.
Everyone
came
did.
Out this year.
Yeah.
It's like been on Netflix for a long time.
Everyone forgot, except it's one of, I mean, before Star Wars came along, it was the most profitable film of the year. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it made a ton of money.
It was a good cash grab for Disney, huh?
Yeah. It was easy cash grab for Disney. I don't think it'll win for production design just because I think they did their best with the material, but like the Beast still looks kind of odd, and the sets I think are very underwhelming, especially like because like you remember from like the animated film where they had the big ballroom where it's all gold and they have the huge ceiling with the big chandelier and everything. This one just feels kind of more small. And, like, the chandelier's so low, like, if they just took a jump, they could swat at it. So...
Yeah, not only have I seen the animated, but I've seen the stage production. So that's why I'm going to stay far, far away from the live action.
Yeah, there's no reason to see it. I think it's mainly going to be between Blade Runner 2049 and Dunkirk.
And that's not just because you're in love with Blade Runner?
No, because like I think like a lot of the sets in Blade Runner are really cool. Yeah. Like the little details and everything they put in, like the hologram system and the different locations, like the little hologram bar that malfunctions in Deckard's place in Las Vegas is really cool.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, it's hard to not recognize Dunkirk because Nolan wanted to use a lot more practical effects. He wanted to build like an actual real aircraft that he could use for these scenes. He wanted like actual boats. He wanted to have like rows and rows and rows of soldiers on the beach there, so you got a sense of scale there. So I think there's a lot of devotion on that part. So I think it's mainly between those two, but I think just because it's more visually, in your face, it's probably going to be Blade Runner.
Okay. Just
because it's amazing to look at all those sets. Just every single set they have there, even for just like tiny shots. I just like can't get them out of my mind. Like Wallace's meeting room in that kind of little platform area where there's water all around. You have like the caustics of the light bouncing off the walls, and then kind of the light fading in and out with the shadows. That's just really cool. And I love the fact that we come back to that place like multiple times because I always love that the meeting room in the first Blade Runner in the Tyrell building. Where it was kind of like with the evening sun, and they had those light caustics going against the walls, even though there's no water around them. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, kind of a little embellishment, but I think it's going to be between those two. Original score for best music, they got Dunkirk for Hans Zimmer, Phantom Thread for Johnny Greenwood, The Shape of Water, Alexandre Desplat. Star Wars Last Jedi for John Williams score, and 3 Billboards for Carter Burwell. Now, I think the Golden Globes, The Shape of Water won, and I think it might win because it's got a lot of variety. Because I love how they kind of like fool you with the music at times. Because when we first see Sally Hawkins' character, we see her in her kind of little apartment there, and it's very rustic and very like kind of a little bit dilapidated, a little bit green in there, and they have like an accordion music going. It kind of fools you into believe that maybe it's taking place in France. And then when she gets out of her apartment, you start seeing where she is, and the context like, oh, she's not in France, especially because like the first person she interacts with is the theater owner, who's got a thick Boston accent. So
okay.
And I love the fact that they have a little bit. I think they have a little bit of theremin music going when we see the Amphibian Man.
Amphibian Man.
The Amphibian Man.
I don't know. I feel like we keep bringing this up, but it's like I feel bad. My dad didn't like it.
Well, it's definitely.
I recommend it to them. They don't like it.
I get the feeling it might be.
I haven't seen it myself though, but you said such good things about it.
Yeah, and a lot of people have. It's become like a lot of critics have loved it. It won a lot of awards. Critics are in love. It's probably going to end up winning the Film and Television Awards. But yeah, I get the feeling it kind of might be this year's like kind of like La La Land.
Okay.
Just because most critics I know are raving about it.
They're gonna start to give them the reward and be like, oh no, wait, it was this other movie.
Yeah, it feels like
that was that award show, right?
Yeah, that was when they went to La La Land. It's like, oh no, it's Moonlight. It's Moonlight. So hopefully that won't happen this year.
I've seen La La Land. I have not seen Moonlight, so don't know about that movie.
Moonlight's not bad. It's pretty good.
It's not bad. Well, I would hope not.
No,
it's winning awards.
Because winning awards
should be good. I assume it's good. I just have not seen it.
There are some films that most people don't agree on as much for like Best Picture. Like especially, I think a lot of critics I've been talking to are very underwhelmed by Call Me by Your Name.
Oh really?
Just because like it's supposed to be this, film about like an unconventional relationship and about like transgenderism, and a lot of people who are transgender and kind of gay have been watching this film and go like, I should be feeling something here, but
they don't like it.
But nah, I'm not really digging it as much. So
they shot for a narrow demographic and it didn't hit.
Not so much.
Or
I think
is it? I don't know. I don't know anything about the movie. So.
I think it didn't hit. I think it just might be that it was just a little bit off in tone, that it doesn't feel like it should be up for Best Picture. So it just I think that's kind of the more like Oscar baity picture in here.
People liked it, or people didn't like it?
A few people really dig it.
Oh, okay.
So I think between critics it's kind of more split.
Okay.
And it's not like a split like they hate it. I think it's just kind of like, didn't dig it.
Yeah, I
Didn't
know.
dig it. So.
The thing with critics is you should just find someone who mostly agrees with you as far as movies go, and then you'll be able to find the movies you like. But then, you know, and then all those critics liked Star Wars, and half the fans didn't. So.
Well, I know some people who were kind of lukewarm on it as well. And also, you got to realize...
My brother was kind of like, about it.
And the other thing you got to realize, too, is, like, you got to realize the way to read Rotten Tomatoes. Because a lot of... Because 94%, it could mean just that 94% of critics are like, no, it's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I
didn't look into it.
Because a lot of...
lazy.
Yeah,
I didn't care enough, so...
That's the thing. If you really want to know why they think they click on the review and read it, then you can understand. Because like most of the critics I know are kind of they're just
it's okay.
Well, most of them are just kind of like 3 out of 4 stars or like 3 out of 5 type stuff like that. So most of them are just like it's fun. It's not an amazing film, and I love how like they always do that to get. To promote as like, it's this high on Rotten Tomatoes. So like, everyone liked it. Like Paddington 2 right now is probably like the highest rated film right now in terms of fresh reviews. And most of the critics just kind of like, it's cute. It's really good.
Kitty, what do you need?
I mean, I love Paddington 2, like a lot, but that's just me.
Kitty needs something. What do you need, Kitty?
The cat wants love. Come here.
Is that what she wants?
Love and food.
Are you sure she wants food?
No, she wants love.
She's not gone in the kitchen.
She wants love.
There, sweetie.
All right.
Sweetie.
So we got Best Original Song. We have...
She doesn't want me. She just wants you.
Okay. So for Best Song, we've got Mighty River from Mudbound, Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name, Remember Me from Coco, Stand Up For Something from Marshall, and This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. I think it's between This Is Me and Remember Me. I want it to be Remember Me just because that film hit me emotionally, but it's probably going to be This Is Me.
I watched something about Coco, and that made me cry.
Yeah. Well, especially when you realize that the context of the song, because you hear it first and it kind of sounds like a sensational piece, and the more that you learn about it and the more that it's sung, by the time you get to the climax when... Miguel sings that song to his great grandma Coco. It hits you. It hits you hard. Like when I first saw it, I was kind of like, oh man, that's really sweet, and kind of get a little misty eyed. And then I saw it the second time, and it's like I can't take it, and it just broke down. And don't blame me. Every other parent in the theater was breaking down at this. Every character was crying at this.
And then the kid turns to you, why are you crying?
Are you crying? I'm not crying. Just watch the movie.
I'm sure she didn't cry.
No, it's another one of those films like Inside Out where only the parents are going to cry at that scene. But yeah, great family film. I hope it wins. Makeup and hair. The nominations are Darkest Hour, Victoria and Abdul, and Wonder. It's Darkest Hour.
Should be Darkest Hour.
There's...
Oh my gosh. Like I said, you can only tell it's Gary Oldman by the eyes.
Yeah. And in fact, and Joe Wright will get really up close. Like, look how awesome we made the makeup here. You really have to look in the eyes to tell it's Gary Oldman. So
it's really good.
Best costume design. We got Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Phantom Thread, The Shape of Water, and Victoria and Abdul. I'm kind of leaning toward, like, it seems like an obvious one. Like, the Phantom Thread probably will be it just because it's a film about costumes. So it might. But I'm kind of leaning towards The Shape of Water. Just because...
see it, I can't say.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Well, you've seen The Darkest Hour.
Movies with you then.
Yeah. Well, you've seen The Darkest Hour. Do you think the costumes
did see that one. We did have a sitter for that one. I mean, we didn't plan on... I didn't plan on going with you, but the other thing I was going to do, I didn't do.
Yeah. I dug the attire in Darkest Hour. Might have a shot.
That was actually a good one. There's been some other movies you've taken me to where I'm like, wow, that was a waste of my time. But
yeah. So it's...
Yeah. Well, which ones were... there's one that was particularly disappointing to me. I think it was Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, but that's because...
I love Poirot, and that was not Poirot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it depends on your expectation. Yeah, like if you have a big expectation of Poirot, you're going to be disappointed. Right?
Well, no, and it's not just that I have to have it be David Suchet or Suchet. I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
Your Poirot. Yeah.
It's not just that, because I've seen
There's been other
I've seen another movie, Poirot movie, where he's being played by a completely different actor, but that actor is in character as Poirot.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Branagh is not in character as Poirot. He's some silly caricature.
Yeah, he's trying to do something much different with the character, and it doesn't work.
He doesn't look like Poirot at all. He's not got. So Poirot is a fat little Belgian man. He's balding. He's got black hair and a mustache and green eyes, and they make a big deal about the mustache, which is not massive.
No, it's like because the mustache was always just kind of like small and curly.
Yeah, it's a small curly one that he keeps very pristine, and as he gets older, he starts wearing like the false mustache. It's very neat though.
Yeah,
because he keeps things very neat, and he dyes his hair as he gets older as well.
But this one looks
like... But he's also, like, very fat. It's, like, part of the story sometimes, and he's constantly complaining about his shoes, and, you know, he's just... But he's not overly silly.
Yeah.
I've never heard him mention Charles Dickens in anything I've read or watched with him before, you know?
And he doesn't look like the Monopoly Man.
He does not look like the Monopoly Man.
He looks more like the Monopoly Man than just Poirot. Why'd they just make him Monopoly?
Well, no, because he wasn't fat enough. He wasn't fat enough to be Poirot.
No,
and
you kind of...
he was playing it too silly.
Yeah.
Like, way too silly.
And you kind of feel like he was just kind of, like, skirting by all his personality traits.
Yeah.
Like, because...
He wanted to make him more action-oriented. Poirot is not an action guy. He's overweight and for the second half very old. He's not going to be doing... I think by the time Murder of the Orient Express happens, if I'm remembering correctly, he might have even been close to retirement or something. I can't recall. But near the end, of course, he would not be moving like that.
Yeah.
You know?
But even like... Just because in that opening mystery that he solves, it feels like they just kind of get all the exposition of his character out of the way.
Yeah, I think they fabricated that opening scene entirely, and that thing in the bakery. It's like, where the heck is this coming from?
Like, I mean, I get why.
Granted, I haven't read that exact book. I have watched adaptations of it, though.
Well, I get why they did that to establish the character, but it's more. It feels more, instead of establishing it, it feels just more like, okay, let's just get his traits out of the way, so that we don't have to come back to them.
Well, and then at the end they have to mention Death on the Nile.
Yeah.
In case they get enough money to do that movie.
No, he is.
Oh, he is doing Death on the Nile? I won't be watching it.
Yeah. Unless he casts someone else.
Unless he puts on a lot of weight. Unless he either casts someone else, puts on a lot of weight, shaves or wears a bald cap. Or just puts on a black wig even would work for me. You know, like... very shiny black hair. You know?
Well, I mean,
if he actually looks like the time period more.
Well, I mean, the bar is really low right now.
Don't add all like the blatant virtue signaling, social justice-y stuff that was nowhere to be seen in the original material.
Well, the bar is really low right now, so he could impress if he tries something.
Yeah.
And
that wasn't... none of those things were even the biggest problem I had with that movie, which was that they made it boring.
Yeah, it's very poorly paced.
It's very pretty, but very boring. That was the worst offense. It was boring is the top offense. The second one is he's not Poirot.
Yeah. And I've heard some people like defend it, like it's really good because it's really pretty, but it's like, Branagh always does pretty films.
Pretty is not a good adaptation.
Yeah.
Pretty does not make the adaptation, especially if something about murders. Murders aren't pretty.
No. Well, I mean, pretty in terms of like how you stage it. Like it's attractive to look at. There's a lot of cool camera shots in there.
Yeah,
for as
what was,
ridiculous
like,
as they
that
are.
Last Supper scene BS too. It's
For
just like, what the heck is going on in this?
For
movie?
as illogical as that scene is, it is a cool shot. I gotta
It's
admit that.
cool shot, but it's not Poirot.
No,
it's not.
That's the problem.
It's not an Agatha Christie adaptation at that point. He's just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And taking the name.
Mostly. And lastly, for best visual effects, we got Blade Runner 2049, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars Last Jedi, and War for the Planet of the Apes. It's going to be War for the Planet of the Apes. It has to be. If there's any justice in this world, it will be War for the Planet of the Apes.
Can you tell Mark really likes sci-fi more than anything else?
Well,
and what puts him in such a niche?
Well, it's all...
Most people that like sci-fi as much as he does.
Well, I forgot Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's all sci-fi films for visual effects.
Yeah. Well, because sci-fi is where you need the visual effects. Sci-fi and fantasy.
Well, there were a lot of pretty good ones here.
Yeah.
Because you got space opera stuff, you got hard science fiction, you got out there genre stuff. It's cool. So there you go. Those are big Oscar nominations. So a while back, my wife's my wife's mother got me this book.
Oh, is that what she gave you for Christmas?
Yeah, I think she gave it to Christmas this one time. The critics were wrong. I think she's trying to send me a signal here.
No, she probably just said, "Oh, Mark will like this book."
Oh, look.
Mark likes books about movies. This is perfect.
And it's basically just a book about how critics are wrong.
You're wrong, Mark.
So it's got all
Especially about The Last Jedi, which I haven't seen.
Which you haven't seen? You haven't seen it? So it's got all these different quotes from different critics for different films where, like, it turns out more people liked it or more people hated it. I think it's mostly films that critics hated but a lot of people loved. So I wanted to play a game with you. So essentially, I'm gonna read a quote from here.
Okay.
And you kind of try to guess what the film it is. Now, these are all like popular films. They're not like small ones. These are all fairly mainstream ones.
Yeah, I would think it would be the small ones that they get wrong. But okay.
No. It's better if they're the big ones because a lot of people remember the big ones.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. I'll try to find one more towards the back.
Memory test. Oh boy.
Memory test. Okay, so here's a film from 1931. Despite the advanced publicity, which advised me that to have seen this film is to wear a badge of courage, I regret to report that it is just another movie, so thoroughly mixed with water as to have a horror content of 0.001%. The film differs greatly from the book and soon turns into a sort of comic opera with
Dracula?
Nope.
Okay, keep going.
With a range of cardboard mountains over which extras in French Revolution costumes dash about with flaming torches.
Phantom of the Opera?
No. Well, they mentioned Phantom of the Opera, but it's not Phantom of the Opera.
Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frankenstein. Flaming torches.
Why French, though? That doesn't take place in France, does it?
No, but French Revolution costumes.
Oh, okay.
So kind of trying to make it from the era. They're pointing out how dingy the costumes were at the time.
When you said French, it threw me off because my next guess was going to be Frankenstein, but when you said French, it made me think, well, Phantom of the Opera is French.
Yeah.
It
it could be, yeah. It's from that same era. I think it might have been a little earlier, but there you go. Okay, this is from a film from 1940. Let's see. I left the theater in a condition bordering on nervous breakdown. I had no desire to throw myself in adoration before those responsible for the brutalization of sensibility in this remarkable nightmare of a film.
What a drama queen.
I'll give you a hint. It's a Disney film.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, here's another one.
What year was it again?
1940.
Snow White?
Nope.
Oh, keep going.
All right, here's another one. A promising monstrosity. The essentially new and essentially problematic film is the use of great music and accomplishment for Walt Disney cartoons, to be sure that we are told that it is that this is the other way around. And no doubt the intent was the opposite one, but the effects achieved are nevertheless Walt Disney plus Bach or Beethoven.
Cinderella? Fantasia?
Fantasia, yeah.
I don't know.
The Bach.
I don't know what. I keep trying to go by when they came out, and I have no idea.
Okay, we'll skip ahead a little.
I thought Fantasia was a later time, but you were talking about music, so I'm like, oh. Yeah. They all have music in them, mostly.
Usually do. Let's see. Here we go. This is a film from 1984. A cinematic variant on the theme of the white man's burden. It powerfully reinforces the depiction of the white man as the paternalistic defender of justice against the oppression of civilized order against the primordial female chaos.
What?
This is from Jump Cut magazine.
So this stuff that goes on in the news ain't new then?
No.
People were using the same language in '84.
Oh, before even that, like there was complaints about Star Wars that they made Darth Vader like the only black guy in the film, the villain. So they added.
He was a white dude underneath.
True, but that's why they had to add Billy D. Williams, The Empire Strikes Back.
But if you thought about it, he would kind of have to be white, wouldn't he? Because Luke is very white.
Yeah.
But maybe things are different in space. It didn't necessarily have to be that way, I guess.
True, yeah.
Continue.
Let's see. Moviegoers deserve more than the racism, sexism, and all-purpose mayhem on view here. The message is plain. White people are good, yellow people are shifty, brown people are weak or sinister, and some lesson for the 1980s.
I have no idea.
It is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Okay.
I guess.
Yeah,
I could see that criticism.
Yeah, it's one of the more weaker ones.
That wasn't the greatest Indiana Jones movie.
No, so. Most people agree that is kind of the weakest one out there.
I could see that criticism.
Alright, let's see if I can find one a little more notable here. Oh, here we go. Alright, this one is from 1990. For a change, a contemporary American movie actually does what it sets out to do. I suppose I should feel encouraged, but I don't. I'm dismayed that people should mistake competence for art, appalled that critics and audiences seem ready to wink at the gay bashing. And I'm disheartened that Jonathan Demme, whose best work has been so alert, so open to the ways that Americans live, would cocoon itself in this preposterous fantasy of horror.
Is it a horror movie?
Technically, yeah.
I don't know. I was 3 in 1990.
Give you a hint. It's one of your favorite quote-unquote horror films. Won an Academy Award. Silence of the Lambs.
I thought we had a conversation where you basically said that wasn't a horror movie.
Oh, I argue it's a horror film. I know you probably say it's a thriller. That's why I said quote-unquote horror film.
Well, I told you I considered thrillers to be a section of horror, so...
Ah, okay.
But it didn't sound like you agreed with me, so I was confused.
Okay. Well, I'll note that in the future. Let's see here. So, this one's from 1977. Fairly big film. Let's see. Oh, dull new world. It is all as exciting as last year's weather reports. It is all trite characters and paltry verbiage, handled inadequately by the milquetoast actors and wretchedly by so many others who is not even, and none of these characters are particularly appealing. Still, this film will do very nicely for those lucky enough to be children or unlucky enough never to have grown up.
They don't really say anything about the actual film, do they?
Okay, well, here, there's a part I was putting out here just because I didn't want it to be so obvious. Okay, there's the extra part here where it says, it's handled adequately by Harrison Ford, uninspiredly by Mark Hamill, and wretchedly by Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
Well, but without that, I have no idea what this movie was about. I don't know when movies come out because I don't give a shit. So.
All right. Let's see if I can find a better one here. Oh, here we go. This one's a musical. Let's see. A fairly old musical. You can safely take the youngsters or your mid-Victorian aunt, but I don't guarantee that they won't go to sleep with this film. From 1954. Let's see. Stars Bing Crosby. White Christmas.
You know, I think I should read these to you. I never saw White Christmas.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you try it?
I have a coworker who loves that movie though.
I'll give it.
I'm not the one who researches movies.
Okay.
Let's see.
And I haven't actually read through it as much, so I don't know most of these.
It's a 1960 film.
Okay.
Goddard's directorial abilities seem to me to be rather flash in the panish. He lacks intellectual and artistic integrity.
Okay, so it's a Goddard film. Is it Contempt?
No. Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah, tell me what it is.
It's Breathless.
Oh, Breath.
Which I've never heard of before.
Okay. I'm not as good with Goddard films.
1988. He certainly gets points for weirdness, but watching Hoffman bleat and stare into the void and gesture like R2-D2, you might wish his stunt had come to more.
That's Rain Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little obvious, I guess.
Yeah. Really.
1986. King of the Wackos, Dennis Hopper finally goes as berserk on screen as his reputation indicates off screen. He holds the record in this one for saying the most F words in movie history.
That has to be Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
You don't forget him in a film like that.
1975. As for Miss Minnelli, she is herself a perfect ménage à trois, in which lack of talent, lack of looks, and lack of a speaking voice cohabitate blissfully. Donnan sensibly concentrates on her best features, her legs, but unfortunately can't wrap them around her face.
Dang.
That's really low.
Yeah.
That's real low.
I'm flabbergasted.
Not cool.
I can't give up on that one.
Lucky lady.
Lucky lady. Okay.
1953.
Mm-hmm.
Hawks has Marilyn honey and husky her voice, droop her eyelids and protrude her lips, and almost murmur, "Come have me," too often. A girl can't keep doing that too long. Even the boys in the back row will stop being affected and begin to watch the technique.
1953?
Yes.
Stumped.
Gentlemen prefer blondes.
Mm.
Here's another one from 1956.
Okay.
There has been much publicity recently about Miss Monroe's efforts to become an actress. Only her most faithful admirers will think her performance in The title's in there.
Oh.
I'll stop. Sorry. I should have read ahead. Let's see. That makes this harder, by the way.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to take out the title.
1958. Poor Mr. Newman seems to be auditioning alternately for the Moscow Art Players and the Grand Ole Opry as he ambles about, brooding, grinning, or mumbling endlessly.
Let's see, Newman, 1958. Oh. It's not The Gambler, is it?
No, it's The Left-Handed Gun. 1983.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholson's ex-astronaut is supposed to be a womanizing slob. I realize this. If only the actor didn't fit the role so completely. It's depressing seeing what an overweight, balding wreck Nicholson has become.
Oh, it's I want to say Blood and Wine, but it's not Blood and Wine.
It's Terms of Endearment.
Terms of Endearment, yeah.
1976. As for Peck, he worries and suffers as nobly as only a piece of granite can.
What year was it?
1976.
76. Peck. I'm at a loss.
The Omen.
Oh, God.
This is really hard.
It is hard, yeah.
You see what you did to me?
No, it's cool. I like
this.
I like how hard it is.
1967. Who directed Arthur Penn, whose artistic integrity is about on the level of Beatty's acting ability, i.e. close to zero?
66. Is that Bonnie and Clyde?
Yes.
Yeah.
1965. A former actor who has become a Hollywood leading man.
In 1965, leading man. Is it Laurence Olivier?
Nope, that's The Sound of Music.
Oh.
Specifically about Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer.
1948. Mickey Rooney should never be permitted to play anyone but himself. When he attempts characterization, the result is a kind of involuntary libel.
I'm terrible with Mickey Rooney films. So.
Words and music.
Words and music. He made too many films. Keep track.
1981. She charmlessly tries to act avid, lost, and dumb.
Is it Mommy Dearest?
I'll give you a hint. It's about Susan Sarandon.
Lost.
Atlantic City. Another movie I've never heard of.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
(1978). What this film demonstrates irrefutably is the ineptness of Martin Scorsese as a director.
What year is it?
1978.
Oh, that's is it Taxi Driver?
No, it's The Last Waltz.
Oh, that's right. He did that before Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver was in 1975.
That's right. Yeah.
I feel like I'm helping you study for a test.
Yes. You think bone up this.
1989. His work is pure sensationalism. Armed with his invasive camera, Stone is less an artist than a dictator.
89. Is it? Trying to think of Stone's other films. It was 89. It couldn't have been Platoon. It was.
I'll give you a hint.
Hmm.
No, that would give it away. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Think patriotism.
Yeah, there are a lot of films that era. Like, is it Born on the 4th of July?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
That kind of gives it away if you say patriotism. Right?
Yeah. Well, kind of. There were.
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy.
There were a lot of Vietnam films in the late 80s. So.
Born on the 4th of July. What movie was that one about?
Tom Cruise was the person who came back from Vietnam who was disabled.
Okay.
And basically just lost his mind after that. So,
all right.
Pretty cool movie.
Man, they really don't like Barbra Streisand.
They love the doc.
1979. Dodging that formidable nose in a clinch might be harder than evading the mightiest uppercut. Directing Streisand must be like trying to get a rogue elephant to cross a street on the green light.
It ain't Yennel, is it? Is it Funny Girl?
The Main Event, which I've never heard of.
Ah. Bad with Miss Streisand.
I don't think I've ever seen a Barbra Streisand movie.
They used to...
The only stuff I've really seen having anything to do with Barbra Streisand was South Park.
Yeah. You never saw Yennel or anything like that?
No.
They used to be a running joke on David
I
Letterman.
think maybe I saw parts of some movie she was in, but I have no idea which one it was.
It used to be a running joke on David Letterman when he would always ask during the Oscar scenes, like, now why didn't they nominate Barbra Streisand?
So you know what I do know, although there is a term online called the Streisand effect, where it's like if you bring more you'll just bring more attention to things if you try to like call them out or fight against them.
Right. Yeah.
The more you want something off the internet, the more of it will be on the internet.
Yeah. Rules to live by.
1976. From a brazen ham like Donald Sutherland, we get a performance so appalling that we wonder whether he was directed with a cattle prod.
1976?
Yeah.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
I'll give you a hint, it's a number. Are all of these before the 90s? I mean, jeez.
There's gotta be a few in the 90s.
When was this movie out? Or this book come out?
19...
This book came out in 1996. No wonder I don't know any of these. I mean, I know some of them, but mostly ones in the 80s and like classics. So.
Yeah. Kind of stumped. I just keep thinking...
1900.
19... Donald Sutherland, I think this is Body Snatchers and Animal House.
I haven't heard of most of these movies, I would say.
Well, shoot for the 80s. I could barely do the 80s.
Well, here's one from 1939.
All right, that's great.
The music hall is the last place in the world where we should expect to find a freak show. Can't say that long. I don't look at it. It'll give it away.
I think it's giving it away. It's freaks, right?
No.
No?
Take warning. The film is almost unbelievably brutal and without the saving grace of unreality, which makes Frankenstein's horrors a little comic.
So it's Frankenstein?
No.
Comparing
it to Frankenstein.
Oh, comparing to Frankenstein.
They're saying Frankenstein's was a little comedic, but this one was not. It was really brutal.
Really brutal. Of 39.
What classic is, in its true form is really brutal? There's a Disney adaptation.
Is it,
It's based off a book.
Hunchback Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard from like the 30s because they made like so many different versions of those. Because there were different versions like Dracula, and I think there were different versions of Hunchback.
Yeah.
A few versions of what's the Golem, I think.
1978. I feel that Brooke Shields, when she rivets her stepfather and the audience with that penetrating stare in the final sequence, is really looking through and beyond the poor fools who paid $4 in the hope of seeing a 12-year-old do a nude love scene. $4! Now that's the outrageous part. Think of how much we have to pay for a movie.
Yeah. How's that for context?
She is really looking at Louis Mal, Polly Platt, and Paramount Pictures, who are trying to tell us the story of her degradation when their own is so obvious in every frame. And perhaps she's even looking beyond them to each of us in a society that makes such an exploitation possible. I'm aware of this movie, so that's why I want to see if you were.
Okay, I might not be. No.
Pretty Baby.
Pretty Baby.
There's a picture from it.
Oh, nice.
It's the one where Brooke Shields plays a 12-year-old prostitute, basically.
Oh.
Who's auctioned off.
Damn.
I didn't see the whole movie, but someone mentioned, and I'm like... So I had to see, this is really a thing?
I guess so.
1968. For myself, I couldn't find in the proceedings even a wild caricature of anything recognizably human. And my mind boggled at the psychological implications in the premise that any audience would laugh at the play within the movie.
Oh,
Come on, you know this one.
The producers?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, man.
1986. A film so depressing it makes you want to kill yourself. Makes Lynch's Blue Velvet look like a rerun of Ozzie and Harriet. President Reagan has declared war on drugs. He'll need an oxygen tank to get through.
1986.
President Reagan has declared a war on drugs. Film's so depressing it makes you want to kill yourself.
Red Dawn? No.
Gary Oldman.
Oh God. I can think of a Sid and Nancy. It's not.
That's
Sid and
what
Nancy.
it is.
Is it Sid and Nancy? Oh my God.
Sid and Nancy.
That's just my gut.
Why did you think it wasn't?
I thought it was a different film that era. It was more exploitive on drugs.
I don't know. You see a Gary Oldman at the end of that movie?
Yeah.
You should know this one. I'm going to have to skip the first line, though, from it.
All right.
1990. A white man beats a black man to a literal pulp. This knockdown and drag out is an epic battle of the races. Not only does the white man win, in Lynch's view, he should win. His vision coheres around the self-centeredness and racism that signifies bad art. This is an Armin White quote, by the way.
Oh, Armin. There you are.
I had no idea he's been at it so long.
Well, if it's a Lynch film and if it's 1990, it's I'm pretty sure it's Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because remember that's the opening scene as he beats a black guy to death.
Yeah.
It's
Armin
pretty
White
bizarre.
Was pissed.
I'll bet that it pissed off a lot of people when that film won the Cannes Award and everyone booed it. So. Oh, Lynch.
Let's see. Okay, so I know you've seen this movie. 1979.
Mm-hmm.
It is not so much an epic account of a grueling war as an incongruous...
Congruous?
I don't know. Extravagant monument to artistic self-defeat. Yet lest we lose our perspective in contemplating this disappointing effect, it should be remembered that the failure of an ambitious $30 million film, I guess you could put the dollar sign in there, is not a tragedy. The Vietnam War was a tragedy. Blank is but this decade's most extraordinary Hollywood folly.
Yeah, it's apocalypse now. Yeah. That kind of a criticism wasn't uncommon. Yeah. All right.
1982. To put it briefly, scientifically, and charitably, this is a very feverish view of life a mere 37 years from now. Some of you readers will still be alive and suffering then, so be warned, the kids may be able to swallow this stuff without gagging.
So that would be around 2019, so that would be Blade Runner.
Yeah. You have a hard on for that movie. If you got it wrong, I'd be like, what?
Oh no! I'm a fraud.
1976. A supremely silly movie about nothing at all. Perhaps I'm more of a purist than I ever realized. I like horror films that keep me on the edge of my seat. A horror film that lulls me to the edge of sleep is innovative, all right, but in the wrong way. For anyone except the film buff, blank is a waste of time.
Gee, a 76 horror film.
They have a few for this one.
It's probably wrong. Is it Texas Chainsaw?
No, let me read one of the other ones.
Okay.
That go along with the same movie.
Okay.
Pandering to the most base level of the popular taste has long been business as usual in Hollywood. New and substantial proof of that truism comes with Blank, a shallow, nasty-minded, extremely bloody picture. The only ones who stand a chance of coming out ahead where shamelessly exploited movies like Blank are concerned are the money men behind the project. The thrills get cheaper all the time, but not the price of admission.
I'm trying to think of an exploitive horror from that. And I keep thinking Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave, but it's probably not it.
Here's the third one. Third and last one. King endowed Blank with telekinesis so that she could be an instrument for expressing what I interpret as his own undying hatred of young people, high school students in particular. As portrayed by adapter Lawrence D. Cohen and director Brian D. Palma, King's high school students are the most repulsive young people to appear on the screen since the youth films of the late 60s, and that includes Blank herself.
It's Carrie.
Yeah, that one gave it away.
Well, yeah, as soon as I heard young people in De Palma, then it made sense. So.
Really? I think King should have put that in there for you.
Yeah, I'm not as versed with King. I'm more versed.
I read the book. I don't know if I saw that movie, but I've read the book.
Yeah. I'm better versed in De Palma than I am King, so.
Well, my mom had every Stephen King book when I was a kid.
That makes sense.
I just read the title. Instead of the number. That's story of my life, right?
A Clockwork Blue.
You should know this one. 1983. A grade B movie made with big stars. The question is, just why do we need still another film about low ominous tones here? Psychic phenomena. Try Greed. Try Stephen King's big buck success. There's a telling line about halfway through when Johnny complains to his doctor, "When the spell comes, it feels like I'm dying inside." The corpse is the movie.
1983.
Cronenberg. Hi, viewer.
Is it,
Come on, you know this one.
Is it, there's a Cronenberg, it can't be The Thing, it's a Videodrome?
No, it's a Cronenberg Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, it's Village of the Damned?
No, it's the
Prince of Darkness.
Zone.
The Dead
Zone.
God damn it.
You know that one.
I told you I'm not well versed in King.
For our singular viewer, we are going through The Critics Were Wrong, which Mark got for Christmas from my mother, and doing it quiz style. He tried it with me first, and I have no idea, because all these movies were made before 1996, and I was only born in the late 80s, so... I've seen some of them, but only if they were classics, basically, so...
The Ice.
And even he doesn't know some of them, which is really sad.
It's been so long since I've seen The Dead Zone. It's been 12 years since I've seen
I'm pretty sure I've seen The Dead Zone, haven't I?
I think you have,
I have. Okay. 1980. If you don't know this one, I'm just going to laugh at you.
Oh, no.
The elephant... I keep doing that! Why? It's the Elephant Man. Of course, yeah. Okay. 1989. If blank doesn't put a softball-sized lump in your throat. It's not exactly unproductive either. Watch where you put your feet, Shoeless Joe. There's enough horseshit here to fertilize Ray's farm, the rest of the country, and Iowa too.
Let's see, in 1989, they ain't talking about, I think it was Ghostbusters 2. It's not Ghostbusters 2. It's Field of Dreams?
Yeah!
Ah!
People must not like this bit. They keep coming in and leaving. Screw you all. We're having a good time.
Whatever. They can come later.
I like this movie, so we're going to do this.
All right.
1951. A whimsy that is just around Pooh Corner. From Mawkishness, Stewart is okay. And that is about the size of it. He walks through with no trouble, and I think without taking any. At least he never succeeds in evoking the presence of his invisible pal.
From 1980?
Stewart, invisible pal. No, 1951.
Oh, 1951. Oh, Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be obvious.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah. I love Harvey.
I like the name of this movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I like the name of it.
Oh, yeah.
1949. A bedroom farce with scattering of laughs, which are muffled by as thick a mixture of stale crumbs and old chestnuts as Hollywood has ever stuffed into a high-priced turkey.
Wow. Kind of at a loss with that description.
Director Howard Hawks. Cast Cary Grant, Ann Sheridan, and Marion Marshall. Gotta brush up on your oldies.
They did yeah.
I just like the name because it's I Was a Male War Bride.
Wow.
I
got
thought it
to know
was a
that.
funny name.
That is a pretty funny name.
1978. I suppose not much should have been expected from the writer of Nickelodeon or the director of the Great Northfield, Minnesota Raid. In fact, the real trouble with is that it was made by the same pod people it's supposed to be about. Well, that should be
that's
obvious.
it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that movie. Let's see.
Yeah.
1955. It is not really funny for the home of a gentle old lady with 3 parrots and a slightly wandering mind to be invaded by 5 hold-up men, no matter how broadly Guinness plays their leader. The spectator has to change sides too much and consequently feels a vague irritation instead of being entertained. It must have been a good movie because I've seen the remake.
Is it Lady Killers?
Yes.
Oh.
Say what you will about Tom Hanks in that movie. Whatever.
No,
I liked it.
I actually
liked it.
I actually really dug Lady Killers. Good movie.
Well, here's a movie that makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
1962. Wind up the blank doll, and it goes to Hollywood and commits nymphicide. Blank is the saddest and most important victim of the current reckless adaptation fad, which, in sterile practice, kills the goose in order to hatch a golden egg.
Very colorful.
Ooh, there's 2 reviews.
All right, why don't you read the other one? We can figure it out.
I feel like the second one might give it away, so I'm going to blank out the character
Yeah, try to
name.
cover it up if you can.
I'd have given the blank role to Peter Sellers, with perhaps Rod Steiger playing the unspeakable Quilty. That way, the central machinery of the picture might have looked less like the motel adventures of a second-hand car salesman and a quick lunch cashier. The sex in blank is no longer perverse. It is now merely sordid.
Peter Sellers.
I did give you one of the characters' names. Peter Sellers and Rod Steiger aren't in this movie.
Oh, they're not in there.
That's just what the critic thought should be in there.
Well, I'm drawing a blank then.
You might not have seen this movie, actually.
Okay.
I think I have seen at least part of the movie and read the book.
Okay. What was it?
Lolita.
Oh! Damn.
Have you seen that movie?
I have, but it was a very long time ago.
My hints were, it makes me uncomfortable.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of films making you uncomfortable, so...
And that I had to bleep out the names because the names are too recognizable. I had to skip through Lolita Doll and Humbert because Humbert is the main character.
Oh, okay.
It would be too obvious.
All right.
1960. I think you should know this movie.
Uh-oh.
A considerable amount of money was spent on this Western to no purpose. A more uninteresting lot of Mexican farmers were never saved from a gang of duller bandits by 7 more unlikely gunslingers.
Well, gotta be the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I could have just told you the date and the cast and you would have gotten it. Because, I mean, Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, Robert Vaughn, James Coburn, Charles Bronson, Horst Buchholz, and Eli Wallach. You would have guessed it, right? Because where else would you find all those?
You'd never forget a great ensemble cast like that.
Oh, you know what? Clearly my mom got this from Goodwill.
Yeah, because the Goodwill sticker on there.
You know what?
Was it?
She might have even gotten it from the one where they, like, charge you based off of the width. No, because it wouldn't have the sticker then.
Yeah, they got a different sticker for that.
Because there's that one store, Goodwill store, where you can go and they charge
Get them by the pound.
By, like, they measure the size of the books. And
yeah.
Where you can get the pounds of things, but it's too, like, cutthroat there.
Oh, yeah. I'll bet.
1983. It's a Harold Ramis movie.
Harold Ramis?
Yeah, Harold Ramis. Not even impeccably pedigreed comics such as Chevy Chase, Imogene Coca, and John Candy can do more than completely mug their way through John Hughes' tasteless script. Come on, it should be obvious.
What year is it again?
83.
83. Should we change?
Think about it while you let the dog out. There's a whole lot for this one.
Okay, one moment.
It takes up more than one page. If there were any viewers, I'd ask if you knew, but it's at 0 right now, so.
Hey Doc, you know what Chevy Chase film?
What is the primary Chevy Chase film, Mark? What is the one he's the most known for?
Shoot, I feel that. National Lampoon's Vacation?
Yeah.
Okay. I kept thinking Fletch.
What other Chevy Chase films can you think of off the top of your head? Fletch?
Fletch.
I've not even heard of that one.
Funny Farm. Nothing But Trouble. European Vacation.
Okay.
Christmas Vacation.
1976. For all the self-consciously deployed 25-cent words in its screenplay, this movie is so heavy-handed and simplistic that a 12-year-old wouldn't find it challenging. It's embarrassing to watch a film try so hard to be daring and fall so flat. Lumet's direction, meanwhile, is as disheveled as the script. Borders so obviously on the banal and trivial in dealing with life at the top that it defeats all its good parts, overcomes its own heart, and should make a dandy sitcom in the 1978-1979 season.
Wow.
Oh, that's scathing.
Yeah.
I had to bleep out some part because it'd be too obvious.
I can't think of it.
Director, Sidney Lumet. I know you've watched it because I've seen it with you.
Okay. Sidney Lumet film.
Peter Finch. Faye Dunaway, Beatrice Straight. It won a bunch of Academy Awards.
Oh.
It was nominated for Best Picture. William Holden was in it, and Ned Beatty.
Drawing a blank.
Network. You should know that one.
Oh my god.
You should know
I should have known that one. God.
I'm disappointed.
Disappointed. Mad as hell.
I'm not going to take it
anymore.
In addition to the threadbare material, there is very poor performance by Peter Sellers as a French police inspector. That should be all I have to tell you.
Pink Panther. Yeah.
That's why I didn't even bother telling you the year.
Yeah, some certain giveaways.
1968. I was aware as a film unreeled that Messrs. Levin and Polanski were latching on to the witchcraft revival currently being stirred up by perverts. To my surprise, I have since encountered people who allege blank is not about the delusions women nurture before and after they give birth, but is actually and seriously about witches.
It is Rosemary's Baby. Yeah.
This one's kind of popular. I haven't seen it, but most people have, I think.
Okay.
Most people before a certain year, anyway. 1986.
Okay.
Rarely have 90 minutes of screen time been devoted to anything more trivial and pointless. Although nothing of any consequence happens to anybody in blank, the kid with the big imagination passes the time by telling the other kids stories. This gives Rob Reiner a chance to stage a fantasy scene that should win some kind of award for the ultimate tastelessness.
Is Stand By Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Figures.
1951. This is a movie I've seen.
Okay.
Everything that kept the Broadway blank from spinning off into ridiculous melodrama. Everything thoughtful, muted, three-dimensional has been raped. Along with poor Blanche Dubois. In the Hollywood version, Brando having fallen hard for the critics' idea that Stanley is simply an animal and a slob, now screams and postures and sweeps plates off the table with an ape-like emphasis that unfortunately becomes predictable.
This is a Streetcar.
Yeah, Streetcar
Named
Named
Desire. Yeah. It's just that.
It's over the top, isn't it?
That opening sentence is so great.
That rapes. 1976. After seeing blank, you'll think twice before hailing a cab. That's all I should need to say.
This Taxi Driver, yeah. You don't want to get in Robert Downey Jr. All right, no. Robert De Niro. De Niro. Can you imagine Robert Downey Jr. shaving his head?
I wouldn't get in a car with Robert Downey Jr. because he'd probably have a drink in hand. Yeah.
It's like, so I think we just go to a porno film, okay? Just it's really tasteful porno film. So it's not a lot of sex. It's going to be just a little bit of nudity. It's going to be great. The 70s would be coked out of his mind, I imagine.
Wasn't he a child in the 70s?
Yeah, but if you were trying to reenact the 70s.
Well, Heath Beef and Kid Madra, we are reading reviews from the critics were wrong, and Mark is guessing what movie it is. So I'm giving him the year and the review without the name. Mm-hmm. So 1962 relates the cult of childhood to the N-word problem with disastrous results. Before the intellectual confusion of the project is considered, it should be noted that this is not much a movie even by purely formal standards. I don't understand that criticism. It's a Gregory Peck movie.
Well, yeah, that's obviously a To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
But, that's such an odd criticism.
Why, Kid Madra? Why? Why not? Why not?
Why not? It's fun.
Why not?
I'm thinking this.
We're having a good time.
It's great trying to figure these out.
I know, they're all so old.
Yeah.
I don't want to do any more of these though, because wait, hang on. There's one I just saw go by.
Okay,
that
any
you better get.
noble ones?
That you better get. Well,
Okay.
Last one.
Okay, last one.
1958. The old master, now a slave to television, has turned out another Hitchcock and Bull story in which the mystery is not so much who done it as who cares.
In Vertigo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not bad. My favorite film.
So what movies do you have next week?
None?
None?
I don't think I actually have any preview screenings next week, so I might have to go out and see something, or I'm gonna have to do more catch up on some more films from last year.
Or watch some stream?
Watch some more. There's probably a few more stream films I got to catch up on. So,
Maybe I'll catch one with you.
Yeah.
I'll make you play more Tex Murphy.
Yeah. I'll try to make you. I'll try to get you to watch some films I got to catch up on. Maybe you and I can suffer through the Snowman together.
The Snowman. Why do you make me watch the shitty films?
Because they're funny.
I want to play the newer Tex Murphy.
New Tex Murphy. All right.
Oh, you like it? You like the book critic things? We might be able to find some more in here, but I just don't think he's gonna get many of these. I certainly can't.
I gotta do an updated version of this. We gotta have some more.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, these are the ones you asked me. I'm gonna do one more.
Okay, try another.
1921. It is the sort of thing one could watch at midnight without its having much effect upon one's slumbering hours. Most of it seems like cardboard puppets doing all they can to be horrible on papier-mâché settings. It is a production that is rather more soporific than a thriller.
21.
The way they talk is different in the 20s.
All I can think of is like the earlier stuff
It's
like
certainly a silent film.
It's a silent film, yeah, obviously.
And they didn't get the rights to use the real name.
Is it it's like the off version of it's like Nosferatu?
It's Nosferatu.
Okay, because I was thinking either like Nosferatu or Cabin of Dr. Caligari, but I think Caligari was like before that decade. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think that was a little bit older there. I don't know, because there were a lot of those like silent German films came out around that era.
What's the battleship?
Potemkin?
Potemkin. Is that a good one?
It's
a 1925 film. I didn't try to do the thing because I wasn't sure if you'd know that one. It's so long ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in like 15 years.
Yeah. Was that when you were blowing through everything in the school library?
No, that was actually when I was in high school and trying to study up on other films because I was in film class at the time. So
we had a film class?
It was a very small one, not a very great one, but we had a film class, yeah.
You know, in high school I was just blasting through every possible art class I could, so.
Yeah.
Although I still missed, like, the photography class and, like, a couple other things I should have done.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should have taken the electronics class, too. I think I would have liked that.
Well, I wanted to do more because the film class, most of what we studied was, like, television. They made us study an episode of Homicide. They made us study an episode of Mr. Bean. It was bizarre.
Mr. Bean?
I'm not kidding. They made us study Mr. Bean. It's like,
okay,
yeah,
I'm glad I didn't take that one.
If I'm gonna be studying like the slapstick stuff, I'd rather look at like Buster Keaton or Mon Uncle, stuff like that.
Like I got annoyed in sculpture because all we did was clay sculpture, and I would have liked to have tried like, wire or something.
Yeah, like what
Although painting's more my thing. Now.
The dog and cat.
Gotta talk to the cat.
Dogs and cats fighting each other. Mass hysteria. Ghostbusters.
You afraid no ghosts? 1960.
Right.
One is confronted with a dilemma which can perhaps best be resolved by staying home. For this is a third-rate Hitchcock. A grand Guignol drama? Sorry. In which the customers hang around just for the tiny thrill at the end. I think the film is a reflection of the most unpleasant mind. A mean, sly, sadistic little mind. All in all, a nasty little film.
Well, it's got to be that creepy. I'm guessing it's Psycho.
Yeah,
Right?
he's Psycho.
Yeah, I figured it's Psycho.
You're gonna have to leave because you don't like cats? She's through the screen. You're not gonna sneeze. She's not even on the screen.
I'm allergic to cat
she's hanging
streams.
out in the hallway pouting because we won't go pet her. She wants us to go to bed so she can dance around by our heads.
My doctor told
They
me.
scare you. Cats? Our cat's like 5 pounds.
It's tiny. They could do anything.
She's all old and sickly. She's a lot healthier than she was.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
My doctor told me to stay away from cat streams.
It reminds me of Series and Porch Events. They have this line where it's like, you shouldn't put things that you're allergic to into your mouth, particularly if that thing is cats.
Yeah. Good advice.
I think you should probably avoid putting cats in your mouth altogether.
Yeah.
Or, anywhere near your mouth. They're gonna scratch. Oh, man. I got this scratch from I tried to pick up a cat at a baby shower I went to, and they warned me about the cat.
No.
But I didn't listen.
Oh, no.
But I didn't listen. Yeah, I should have listened. I don't think you can see it anymore, but it was like bright red the other day. Are we dating? No, we're married. We're a little past dating. Going on 8 years of marriage. Yeah, I would hope we'd be a good couple. We're married. We're married. We have a kid. Sorry.
You took the red asphalt
don't
route
know.
to cats.
You don't know. So,
This is the unfortunate incident of someone who played with a kitty. Don't let this happen to you.
well, if you ever meet a cat named Dennis, don't pick him up. He will scratch you.
Good advice.
And he's all fat and ginger and mean. But he kept walking near me, and if you're a cat and you're walking near me, I'm gonna pick you up.
Yeah.
The other cat didn't do shit, so she let me pet her. She was cool with it. She didn't struggle.
Some cats, different spokes.
Yeah, our cat can't do anything about it.
No.
She's like 5 pounds, so.
Worthless.
Let's see if you know this one.
All right.
Came out in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Watching blank is like seeing a skillful documentary on amputation. Whether it is true to life of Jake LaMotta or to boxing is an irrelevant question.
It's Raging Bull.
Yeah. That shouldn't take much, right?
Giant ring.
Oh, I like this movie. Wow, they really hate on Hitchcock a lot.
Told you, man.
What isn't understandable is Alfred Hitchcock's association with this enterprise. I fear that blank must be taken as another example of his footless ambition to make a movie that stands absolutely still. Maybe one of these days he's going to bust out the way he used to, and then we'll have some satisfactory films. What, they don't like building tension?
What year was this?
54.
54.
Think stillness. It's almost like the character couldn't move. Anyone? Anyone? You?
Is it, trying to think. It's in that weird area, because I can only mostly remember, like, Hitchcock's, like, 30s stuff from the UK, and then, like, his more color stuff from the 60s.
It's a pretty well-known Hitchcock film. I think I
Is
watched
it-
part of it in school, even, maybe.
Is it... my mind is going to The Man Who Wasn't There,
Nope.
but I don't think it's that. So,
Nope.
Uh,
I'm sure you've seen it. Most people have. Well, not most people. If you watch Hitchcock films, you've probably seen it. I know you do.
mm-hmm.
It's a popular one. And you know it's not Vertigo because we already did that one.
So it's North by Northwest. It's not North by Northwest, is it?
No, because
No.
that one has movement in it.
Right, it's one of the popular ones.
Do you need another hint?
Yeah.
The actor's name is James Stewart. Which Jimmy Stewart movie where he doesn't move a whole lot and it's a Hitchcock film. Lots of suspense. Lots of tension.
He doesn't move a lot. Oh! God damn. Rear Window.
Because he's got a broken leg.
I'd forget about Rear Window.
And he spends most of the movie watching the guy through the window.
Yeah.
And I say a lot of people should have some association with this because The Simpsons did a whole episode as a parody of
Threw me because a lot of
satire.
James Stewart Hitchcock films from that era threw me.
Yeah?
Because he was in the Man Who Knew Too Much and Vertigo.
Oh man, this one's gonna be so obvious.
All right.
Oh, I'm gonna read the second one because it's less obvious though.
Okay.
And then if you don't get it, I'll read the obvious one.
Okay.
1939 displays no trace of imagination, good taste, or ingenuity. I say it's a stinkeroo. The vulgarity of which I was conscious all through the film is difficult to analyze. Part of it was the raw, eye-straining technicolor applied with a complete lack of restraint.
39.
Such a over-the-top review. I hope you never go this nuts.
No, I'd never try to go that scathing. If it's 39, I'm guessing it's probably a Disney film.
It can't be expected to have a sense of humor as well. And as for the light touch of fantasy, it weighs like a pound of fruitcake soaking wet. I didn't read you the giveaway line, though.
I think it's Pinocchio.
It has dwarves, music, Technicolor, freak characters, and Judy Garland. Judy Garland. 1930.
Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Technicolor. Where's the
See the
camera?
wizard.
We're off to see the wizard of Oz.
I kept thinking, I don't know, I kept thinking Disney film just because it's scathing, it's colorful.
Oh, Disney wishes they owned that film. They
They're
might now own some rights to it, but they fought long and hard for that. You know they want that one. They've been trying to get around it for a long time.
Gotta get that Wizard of Oz money, you know?
1974. I never imagined I'd think back longingly on Brooks' first film, The Producers, but it never sank to this. As a director, he doesn't have enough style to make the unfunny funny. In blank, he makes the unfunny desperate.
74, Brooks, Blazing Saddles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No mention of Blazing Saddles can be brief enough. It is like playing tennis, not only without a net, but also without a court, and with two balls simultaneously.
Never mind all that shit. Here comes Mongo.
What do you like to do? Chess? Screw?
Let's play chess. So much fun to quote that film.
Well, you can get in trouble quoting that film.
Certain quotes. Let's
Watch
clarify
out.
that.
Watch out.
Yeah, it's not all of it's quotable. Piss on you, I'm looking for Mel Brooks.
No performance deserves comment. There's a fundamentally no view of the material, just a lot of painful grasping and groping. The glory of nature shots are trite. The drama is clumsy. and the editing clanks. It's difficult for a film that's not very tightly knit to unravel, but this one does.
What year is it?
72.
72.
Can be considered a stark, uncompromising showdown between basic survival instincts against the character pretensions of a mannered and material society. Fortunately for John Borman's heavy film, it can just as easily be argued as virile mountain country transportation of nihilistic, precocious philosophizing, which exploits rather than explores its moments of violent drama.
Oh. Deliverance. Squeal.
I'll make you squeal like a baby. Rickman. First there was Sylvester Stallone. Then came Arnold Schwarzenegger. And now Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis? Not exactly a name that springs immediately to mind when thinking of muscles and mayhem movies. But such distinctions mean little to the preparators of Die Hard, the nosiest, ugliest, and most relentlessly stupid movie of the year.
Yep.
Oh, Die Hard! What is wrong with these people?
They just don't dig it. They don't see what comes with it.
You see how, like, snobby they sound, though?
My favorite was Roger Ebert saying that the songs in The Graduate were forgettable. Even he regrets writing that.
The 90s Father of the Bride was a remake?
Yeah.
I didn't know it.
It's of a much older film, yeah.
A 1950s film, apparently.
Uh-huh.
Which had this bad review from John McCartan of The New Yorker that says, since the plot consists simply of outlining the difficulties of putting on a wedding, including, of course, the damnable expense of it all, it grows a little tiresome after a half an hour or so. This may fetch some susceptible ladies in the crowd, but I think it'll be hard on everybody else. I don't know, it must have been pretty good because they made a remake of it, and then they made a sequel to the remake. So
it was a profitable remake. I know it was okay. I never went out of my way to go see the sequel. Which made a lot
I guess it's true. They do make a lot of sequels to shitty movies now. So
yeah, that's true.
They made money. We're making a sequel.
I kept thinking like
we're making a sequel. We're backed by popular demand.
We read one from him, but I get the feeling if we updated this book, it'd mostly be Armin White.
Yeah.
It mostly just.
When did Armin White start writing reviews?
It'd mostly just be the Armin White book of guessing his reviews. Well, he has been dead for a while.
78. I didn't know that came out in 78. And it has no book to speak of. To put it another way, the book is unspeakable. The music goes in one ear and out the same ear. It has no kind of focus in the atmosphere or tone. It doesn't even have a look. Just a sort of floating insult, shopping for a subject to light on. You're the one that I love.
Oh, Grease. Grease. Yeah, because then Grease 2, I think, came out in the 80s, not long after that.
Grease 2 is shit.
Yeah. So I know I like it.
It's aimed at children, but its gory conflicts will scare them out of their wits.
Oh, that's...
Well, it's somebody think of the children!
That's gotta be either, like, Gremlins or Indiana Jones. Oh, nice. Either or.
So it's unbelievable, but it's amusing? The answer is no. Unless you're a fan of mean-spirited, sub-Stooges slapstick. Culkin is reasonably appealing, though there's no way he or any other actor could make this character or situation credible. Better to stay at home alone than go out and see...
Richie Rich. that's no, it's the good son. Home Alone, yeah.
Hunchback of Notre Dame is in here more than once.
The original
The 39
from
version.
39? Oh.
Because they said The Hunchback of Notre Dame, all expense and care and dramatic possibilities considered, is my candidate for the worst made Class A film of the year. The excitement was exciting when they got to it at last, but the audience was already too limp and damp to rise to anything except to go home. Tough crowd in the 1940s, eh?
Yeah, there were tractors all over the place, man.
1940. The film came out in 39.
Did you see, there's a news report they did where Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel had to defend Return of the Jedi from Stanley Kaufman, who thought it was just trash that made kids dumber than they had to be.
Isn't that usual criticism about TV? It does kind of make you dumb, though.
Yeah.
If you watch too much of it, just solidly.
If you watch too much of it, yeah.
thinking about what you're watching.
That's true.
Some people clearly don't think about what they watch.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine in moderation.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to let your kid watch as much TV as I was allowed to watch as a kid. That was not good. Not good for me. Yeah. Not good for me. The ads show a gaping shark's mouth. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to do. It's just...
If sharks can yawn, that's presumably what this one is doing. It's certainly what I was doing all through this picture, even in those few moments when I was frightened.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
Doesn't like Jaws. What's wrong with you, Stanley Kaufman of the New Republic?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's from the Star Wars thing. The guy who said it was make kids dumber. And that Yoda was a stupid puppet.
Sounds like a real a-hole.
I think he's still alive, actually.
Yeah, well, fuck you.
Great.
No, I'm kidding. It's just a fucking movie.
Stanley Kaufman, you think died tomorrow?
I harbor no ill will towards Stanley Kaufman.
No, he's a good guy.
I'm sure he's a decent, upstanding individual.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty good.
At the end, the film simply runs out of steam, says goodbye to its major characters, and calls the final attention to itself as a movie. Surely the saddest and most overworked cop-out devices in the comic film repertory. Let the dog go, would you?
Repertoire?
Sure.
Is that the word?
It says repertory.
What year was it?
70.
1970?
There's a TV show based off of it, I assume. They have the same name.
MASH? Yeah?
Yeah.
That's it.
Overacted, overcute, overloud, and overlong. Music Man operates on the principle that an audience that is hit hard enough, often enough, can be reduced to the pulp of pleasure. Aw, I love that movie.
Man.
You're so cruel, Time.
They
didn't even list the writer's name. That's how shameful they are.
I think when addressing criticism of Last Jedi, somebody brought up that I think someone from the New York Times gave The Empire Strikes Back a very scathing review. Like they really hated it. Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
That's true. It goes all around.
Oh, here's a Landis film.
Oh boy.
You have to guess which one. It should be obvious.
Yeah, there's only one that could have done anything.
Before 1996.
Before 1996, yeah.
Before 96 is when
yeah,
the book
it's
was
a John
published.
Landis film, yeah.
America is vast, and so, my goodness, are the insults launched against its educational system. Blank depicts a university life.
Animal House, yeah.
Animal House. Nobody ever went to class.
Now I gotta let in the dog's ass. Animal House.
movie I saw and liked.
All right.
From 1980.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vile mess, but it may find its audience. The one that has made Airplane and Private Benjamin two of the year's top-grossing films. Some people will go anywhere for a laugh, and Higgins will go to any length to get them. Feminists should be appalled by this odious and obnoxious comedy. One can sense that behind the ugly clowning, the female caper movie episodes, someone is trying to say something serious about politics and feminism. But the movie is a witless mess, a nastier I Love Lucy. The filmmakers treat us like stupid children. Yet I know some people will hail this nonsensical picture as an advance for women. In this country, righteous opportunism goes a long way. These are all written by men, by the way. If it's not obvious.
1980?
It has a song that goes with it.
Is it 9 to 5?
Yeah.
Oh.
Working 9 to 5.
That was a little bit early.
Make a living.
Or mid-80s for some reason. But yeah, oh no, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
By looking at it, it still looked like the 70s to me. So.
A little bit. You know, like early decades, they still look like they spill over.
Jack Lemmon is one of our best comedians, a gifted actor, and a fine human being. But he should stop accepting the kind of scripts he does. In this one, he merely stooges for Walter Matthau, an actor of incomparably smaller range. And the script! The characterizations are uninteresting. The dialogue is middle class Riverside Drive.
Got that a review? Now it's garbage. It's The Odd Couple.
I don't know why I feel like pointing this out. This one was actually written by a woman, Harriet Gibbs, in review. Because the only reason I bother pointing it out is that most of these other reviews are by dudes.
Yeah.
I don't actually care about that sort of thing, by the way. I'm just thought it was interesting.
Like, I've thumbed through that. I haven't seen any by Pauline Kael yet.
Is she a big one?
Well, she's a very big film critic.
Because, like, the only critics I really know, Siskel and Ebert, and the other guy from Siskel and Ebert, and Roper. And, Armin White.
No Rex Reed.
Is he the guy with the fro?
No, that's Gene Shalit.
Yeah. Oh, and there's this guy who's on one of the local news shows. I can't remember his name though, but he got his own show.
Oh,
he's got glasses and I don't know, really neat hair.
Leonard Maltin?
That doesn't sound right.
No.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Can't think of any big ones.
Who gives a shit? This one's in here more than once too. There seems to exist a special kennel in Hollywood where pictures that were artistic dogs, popular successes, are crossbred for the delectation of the great unwashed and an even keener delight of the moneymen. Possibly the highest stud fees of the moment go to the champion hellhound, the exorcist, and the prize bitch, Rosemary's Baby, whose latest whelp, Blank, is certainly all dog from snout to tail. John Simon.
It's gotta be Cujo, right?
No.
No, it's not Cujo? Ooh,
It's one we've already done.
Oh, already done?
Peck is the lead actor. Well, yeah, Peck is the lead actor and it's directed by Donner. I don't know why I went into Unsolved Mysteries there.
If you know the name of this film, call this number.
And I could do Jeopardy, but Jeopardy is kind of annoying.
Because I really don't know what it is.
Man, that show used to creep me out.
This
movie creeped me out too. I haven't seen this version, but I saw a version in 06.
Which, The Omen?
Yeah.
Oh.
I saw the 06 version.
Yeah.
A friend of mine really wanted to see it. I'm like, okay.
They cranked it out there so they could get that release date of 666. That's the only reason they made it.
I saw it on 666 too.
That's the only reason they made it. So they could have that release date.
A lot of movies I saw were because my friends wanted to see them. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care.
If you know the name.
So many movies.
So many.
So many movies.
So many movies, Rick.
A standard issue baby-faced actor. 1983.
Standard issue babyface.
Just take that old time rockin' roll. That's not how the song goes. Give me old time rockin' roll.
Is the Tom Cruise?
Music just soothes the soul. Yep.
Yeah.
In Risky Business.
Risky Business. Underwear.
The boy, Tom Cruise, isn't very appealing. Stanley Kaufman, New Republic.
Pete Townsend. Oh, goodness. Yeah, Tom Cruise didn't go far. So they got another Mission Impossible movie coming out.
Jodie Foster as the 12-year-old is only minimally effective. Stanley Kaufman.
Didn't like Taxi Driver, huh?
Yeah, apparently not.
Jeez, man.
Of Robert De Niro and Jonathan Warden, the latter gives at least some evidence of a little talent. I've never heard of this movie before.
Robert De
Came out in
Niro.
1968.
It's not the King of Comedy.
Greetings!
Huh.
Here's one from 1933.
Mm-hmm.
The role of the daughter in A Bill of Divorcement is evidently a foolproof one. A few months past, movie audiences were sure that the new star had come into their firmament when they saw blank essay the part. But in Christopher Strong, blank does little to show that she has earned the star rating that her producers have accorded her. The cinematic critic of the London Observer, Miss C.A. Lagoon, winced at Miss Blank's voice in A Bill of Divorcement. As Al Jolson would say, she ain't heard nothing yet. Newsweek, March 18th, 1933. What's the actress's name? She's a really big actress. And I guess this was one of her first roles or something.
Is it,
No wire hangers.
You
wanna fly?
Oh, that
I'll
one.
make you fly!
I'm sure that...
Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah, Katharine Hepburn. I'm sure one of her films were... I'm sure that film was in there, Mommy Dearest, because I know that got a lot of criticism.
That wasn't her. It was about her.
I know. I know about her.
They complain about her kid. And like, oh, they're just a spoiled brat.
Oof. Oof.
Athene. What?
What?
Rydale says Athene. I don't know what they're referring to though. Maybe they were guessing the actress's name.
Ah.
Unfortunately, all the equipment that Miss Monroe has to handle the job are childlessly blank expressions and provokingly feeble hollow voice. And Don't Bother to Knock from 1952.
Oh.
Are they complaining about her voice? Some of these.
Quite the character.
If we compare Badlands with the blank, the difference between the artist and the mere smartass becomes overwhelmingly manifest. John Simon Esquire. 1974.
74.
Meow! What's up, kitty cat?
That's not the right answer.
That's not the answer. That's true.
No, I don't know.
This is in regards to Steven Spielberg on the Sugarland Express.
Oh.
Which I've never heard of before.
That's one of his first films, actually, I think.
At no time are we watching a young man who demonstrates a natural or exciting flair for dancing. One heard a lot of drivel about how hard Travolta worked to perfect his uninspired strutting and preening and hand jiving. It remains to be seen what the picture may do to or for John Travolta. I have grave doubts about the romantic potential of a young actor whose most appealing expression is kind of dumb vulnerability. Brian De Palma seemed to have the right idea when he cast Travolta as the stooge in Carrie. He was in Carrie?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Well, actually, I didn't see that version of the movie, that's why.
Yeah.
I read the book and then I saw some stupid TV version.
Yeah. It's like
King has a lot of adaptations of all his books.
Yeah. It's Saturday Night Fever because no one's going to defend Staying Alive. So.
Stand up! Can't sing, sorry. I liked this movie. Most people don't like this director for reasons that don't have to do with his movies.
Okay.
The source of Alan's popularity has always escaped me. I find him a very thin slice of Harold Lloyd on Rye. That's Robert Hatch. And then, to be sure, Blank does display a growing dexterity at slapstick and provides perhaps the first occasion in his films. His cruising Dollplea in a wheelchair near the beginning, when I can actually recall him and not the lines as what was funny. Given that rate of progress towards comic charisma, Woody Allen might just inch his way past the Three Stooges by the year 2000. One wonders if the effort is worth it. It's William S. Petcher in commentary, May 1974. Do you know what movie that is? Nope says dumb vulnerability is their usual expression.
Is it Woody Allen film for
Yeah.
his
I lost the page, but I know the movie.
he's mostly in a wheelchair.
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not
They just said in the beginning he was.
in the beginning. He is.
He wasn't. I don't really remember him even being in a wheelchair. It was very comedic.
Oh, was it Sleeper?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I liked that one.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like Woody Allen for stuff.
Yeah, well, his older
He's
films
a
are...
creep, but
Well, his older films, even like Bananas,
He's a
are...
creep?
They're just kind of like...
The creep?
Mostly skits for
Yeah.
his films like Bananas and Sleeper, so...
The camp sensibility of author-composer Richard O'Brien takes such an
Big word.
Instantly? I don't know if that's a real word. I've never seen that before.
Instantly?
Instantly? I think they mean instantly, but I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
Knowing, but ultimately humorless form that one may need to be clinically interested or emotionally committed to his big preoccupation, transvestism, to get the particular spirit of the show for any length of time. If you aren't mightily amused at the way Curry comes on, the proceedings are going to degenerate from the merely weird to the positively tedious.
Well, I mean, transvestitism and Tim
Yeah,
Curry.
obvious.
It's obviously Muppet Treasure Island, so it's pretty feminist. No, it's Little Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You know, it's weird because in my head I started getting the song like Sweet Transvestite, and then it kind of moved into Rose Tint My World. But then you mentioned Muppet Treasure Island, and it went straight to a professional pirate, you know.
Wow.
And so it's just my thoughts travel through song. There's a nice picture of them.
The transvestite turns to a pirate like that.
I love Tim Curry.
Who doesn't? Curry's fun.
I was trying to explain Tim Curry's filmology to our kid, and she's like, "What?"
He's got a pretty crazy career.
Well, it was in context of that he did the voice acting, like he did the audiobooks for Series of Unfortunate Events, which I've been reading too. Out of order though. But
yeah.
What's your problem, Cat?
Yes?
Can I help you?
Do you need something? No?
Oh, I found Mommy Dearest.
Oh, alright.
Whatever the truth, director's Frank Perry's portrait here is sorry indeed. What finally must be said is that nobody ever lived a life that deserved this.
Well, yeah. That's...
Confronted by a movie without narrative tension or human interest, one is finally reduced to watching the paint dry on Dunaway's face. Adapted by an unholy quartet of screenwriters and directed by the insensitive and maladroit Frank Perry, Mommy Dearest is very straightforwardly a horror movie for lovers of the outlandish, the inept, and the ineffably absurd.
Well, it's certainly a very, very junky film, because most of the time you're just watching it just to see how bizarre and how much more horrific it can get. Because you're just waiting for the wire hanger bit, and you got to get through all the other creepy stuff to get to it. So.
I thought it was weird, but never really addressed in the movie, was that the little boy was strapped to the bed.
Yeah.
What was that all about? Was that like a common practice back then? Oh.
I think it's just more craziness to go on, to make it look like, because it felt like it was just trying to be one of those more exploitive horrors where you're more just watching the craziness unfold and you're fascinated by its like inhumanity than you are just intrigued by the story. Just like, I just want to watch this woman just beat her kids.
Why would you want to watch someone beat their kids?
Just to figure out why, I guess.
Back on YouTube, when everyone with the camera was talking about that Daddy of Five stuff, I just cringed watching.
Yeah.
Like, I had to turn things off whenever they came up, because I'm like, oh, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
I can't watch it.
I can't watch it.
No, it's too much. Is the cat still over there?
She's around.
Where does she keep going? Is she in the kitchen?
No, she's behind. She's behind the chair.
Oh, yeah, she's underneath the chair by the heat vent.
That's where she is.
She must keep warm.
Yeah. Did I tell you I got pissed off by those trivia cards and tried to write my own trivia book?
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why'd you get pissed off at them? Because they were wrong about Edgar Wright?
They were too easy and they were too wrong. Yeah.
They were really easy.
Yeah.
They were.
I'm going to make them hard as hell.
For us, anyway. Movie trivia, Critics Edition.
Yeah.
That was just I think a cheap stuffer from like Target or something.
Yeah, it was probably cheap in a line of like history trivia and all that.
Yeah,
so.
they're probably like, oh, he'll like this. He likes movies.
You got Edgar Wright wrong. All right.
But we know the answer.
Thank you everyone for watching. Tune in next week when I don't know. I'll try to find. There's no big screenings next week, but I'll try to find something. I promise. I promise in February we'll have more reviews. There's this Clint Eastwood film coming up. I'll try to get in there, and then I'll try to get to Black Panther. So there's definitely a lot coming up. So we'll find. It's just it's January. It's a little dry right now because it's award season. Because I think there's only one film coming out next week because it's all award season. All he wants to talk about is the Post and I, Tanya, and all the Oscar stuff. So and we already talked.
They gotta see Tanya Harding slam that girl with that bat.
Yeah.
Shatter that knee.
No more awards.
I must win. It sounds to me like just an overblown Lifetime movie.
Probably. It's probably succeeds because of the actors more than anything.
Oh yeah, Margot Robbie. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to watch something she's in after watching her play Harley Quinn.
That film was a dumpster fire all around. So.
Oh yeah, it was hot trash.
Yeah.
I wanted to like it so bad that I did that thing when we were at that game store where I basically like acted like I really liked it.
Yeah. Because you wanted to like it.
It so bad.
You wanted to. You love
It
Harley
was
Quinn.
So bad.
Come on.
I love Harley and the Joker, but not in the way that they put them, which may sound weird, but
Welcome to what it... Now you know what I felt. Now you know how I felt watching Green Lantern.
I know Green Lantern was bad.
I know, but I love Green Lantern. It's like, I don't want to hate this.
What they should have done was make a live-action adaptation of Escape on Arkham, and the Green Lantern DC animated movie they did as well.
First Flight, yeah.
That's what they should have done. And then they actually would have been something worth watching. So if you want to see a good version of the Suicide Squad, go see
Assault on Arkham.
Assault on Arkham.
Yeah.
And if you want to see a good Green Lantern movie, go see First Flight.
They're going to work on a new one. They're going to do Green Lantern Corps, and it's going to be entirely off Earth.
Where it belongs.
And that's
Green Lantern does not belong on Earth.
That's immediately better than the Ryan Reynolds version. So
Yeah.
yo.
I haven't seen Justice League, and I don't want to.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's not worth
Just
seeing.
watch Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
And Justice League over again, the animated ones.
That's the definitive Justice League.
That's what I like. That's what I like.
That's what most people like.
Yeah.
That's why when the Green Lantern movie came out, they're like, why isn't he black?
Why isn't he Jon Stewart?
Because everyone's idea of him is Jon Stewart. Because that Justice League is so damn good.
Well, and if they're gonna have Hal Jordan, they need to have one of the other many Green Lanterns from Earth show up.
Yeah.
Because there's like a whole bunch of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like 6 or 7 right now.
Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner and Jon Stewart, and there's probably more now. I don't know.
There's I'm trying to think of the new ones. There's a woman in there now, and there's I forgot his name. There's a Muslim character too, so it's always expanding.
What's with like the character who's blatantly a bird saying, "Oh yeah, I'm related to fish"? It's like, what?
What? The character is a bird?
The feet are bird feet, aren't they?
Bird feet? The
Green Lantern. I don't remember his name. It's been so long since I've watched anything with it. He was voiced by
Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tomar Ray.
Yeah, Tomar Ray.
Yeah.
Fish.
Bird fish guy.
He's got bird feet, and you're talking about fish?
Yeah, he was a weird character. There's a reason you didn't last long in the comics. So. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Green Lanterns die pretty quickly too. So.
Poozes.
Poozes.
Now that animated series was really good.
Yeah.
That was a good series. Why was that canceled?
Because the movie
they
didn't do
bother
well.
selling toys probably too.
Well, yeah, because that and the movie didn't do very well either. So
yeah.
The cartoon was kind of an afterthought. So.
Well, if you notice, like a bunch of good shows got canceled from Cartoon Network because they didn't bother trying to sell toys from them, which is usually how they make their money back.
It's the biggest way. So if you don't do that, stinks. So you gotta get the toys out there.
So instead, they just bring Powerpuff Girls back and destroy it. So
yeah, essentially,
make the 6-year-olds twerk. You know, that's a thing. That's a thing. Don't watch that show.
No.
Or that one guy's self-insert character where he's hitting on a 6-year-old.
Take me away from this Cartoon Network.
It's the reason we don't bother getting cable.
Yeah. No reason.
Cut the cord.
Cut the cord.
Cut it!
Oh my goodness. Well, I think we've gone on long enough.
If you say so.
I guess so. So, we'll be back next week. I'll try to find some more movies to talk about. most likely I'll just try to catch up with some more from 2017. And catch up on that because we are going through Oscar films and there's a lot of big films out right now. So we'll dig up some more films. Maybe we'll talk about some older films. I bet.
Catch me on Vision Goo on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
Bye, Nope!
Later, Nope.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.